Hello.
Hello.
Hello, everybody. We're live, I believe. So it says. Oh, there's loads of chat going on. Oh, Lola's not keen on the rain, is she? Glad Kiva doesn't mind. Lola's at the ambivalent stage, but she's not used to going out, is she?
She's not.
Not in the rain. No. Anyway, good evening, everybody. Let's see who's in. Who's in? You got Jonathan. You weren't first, Jonathan. Need to be in earlier. Kim beat you. Good evening, Kim. Not dried off from... Oh, mind you, you're behind us. You're behind us. So morning walk wasn't as long ago as it was for Lola, but Lola wasn't pleased. Didn't like getting wet. Not at all. We have been incredibly lucky that Lola has not bothered in the slightest about the fireworks, which was made all the more surprising when her previous owners came to visit and said that she was terrified last year because she's sleeping on her back downstairs, kicking her little legs in the air at the moment. But every one of our friends has been on Facebook bemoaning the fact it's bonfire night and saying that their fur babies are petrified. Hello, Graham. Hello, Deb. Hello, Charles. Charles, I've made a keyword of you. More on that later. And Deb. Hello, Paul. Oh, Jonathan's upset because Kim beat him. I'm in your defence, Jonathan. There's a time zone difference. That's what I'll say. Jonathan's logging in on Friday next week. Mind you, we're on Friday next week. So maybe Thursday, Jonathan. Just to be sure. Yeah. So, have we all had a jolly good week? Tell me what's gone on in your week. Because you'll be hearing what went on in our week very shortly. Shall we try some Magic Mike?
Magic Mike?
No, not Magic Mike. Oh, good grief, no. Mike didn't know about Magic Mike. I'm assuming everybody else knows about Magic Mike. But Mike did not know about Magic Mike, so I told him to Google it. Was the last time he'll Google that. He knows all about Magic Mike now.
The email looks rather good on my watch.
Oh, that looks rather impressive. Yeah. I'm impressed with that. Yeah. I don't read email on my watch. I like email only marginally, fractionally more than I like phone calls, which is not at all. I got a phone call this week. Now, that might not sound, monumental to most people, but there's only 2 people with my phone number, so it is absolutely monumental. It was I won't even say it was a wrong number. It was one of those, you've had an accident call, so I blocked it straight away. I won't even say 9 times out of 10. 10 times out of 10, anybody rings, they get blocked. Oh, it's not real people that ring me. Oh, good grief, a 3-hour walk. Oh, you must have been wet when you got back. Lola was ringing, absolutely ringing.
To do some Magic Mike?
I wanted to do some magic with Mike. That changed it better, didn't it? Why don't you take your thing full screen and let's see if it works. Let me have a look. Oh, I should be able to see it from here, actually. Oh, if everything worked on here, it'd be amazing. Right. It's fading in and out here. Look at that. Oh, don't tell me there's something else wrong, YouTube. I'll go to my own channel and then it'll tell me I'm live and then I'll be able to get the video and then I'll be able to see if this works or not. Last week we tried something and not one of you told us it wasn't working. But it wasn't working. What we wanted to do was share Mike's screen a different way. And we did, but there was a big border around it and there shouldn't have been. So what we're going to do right now is I'm going to share my screen and we'll see if we can do it without the big border all the way around it. So let me cue you up, Mike. You are going in straight over to Magic Mike. So I can see everything on here. That looks fine. How's it looking at your end? You can see it on the other screen. Eventually, real time will catch up with us and we'll be able to make sure that this is working. Oh, you're before me.
That's what I should be seeing.
Excellent. That's exactly what you should have been seeing last week. Never mind. You're going to be back to me and then over to Keynote. Any second now if I can find Keynote. Oh, so much software, so little time.
Jonathan thought the border was just for him.
What border? No. I'm going to have to do away with that as well. Anyway, right, let's get going with this. Woohoo! Should be seeing my screen now. Okay, hello and welcome. Another Saturday show, but fear not, we're back to a Friday next week. Now, I would be showing you the what we're up to slide, but there's a long story with that, so I'm going to go straight into this one. Last week, people had problems. If you've been before and you've set us to HD when you're watching, it should automatically log you into HD. But if not, there is a slide. It is at the bottom. Not a slide, what am I saying? There's a button at the bottom on your video. There's 4 buttons together, full screen, cinema mode, all kinds of stuff. But there's one that looks like that. It's a cog with a HD button on it. Yours, if it does not have a HD button on it, you need to click on it and you need to go into it. And there's a quality setting. And in the quality setting, you can set it to 720p. And that's what you need to do to get the best quality on the feed. But as I say, if you've ever done that once on this channel, it should automatically happen. But you know what things are like. What should happen doesn't happen. Anyway, the week at MacBites headquarters, I started off quite quietly because we had a Saturday show, if you remember. And on Sunday, I said to Mike, this is really unusual. We got back from church in the morning and it was like, what we got to do? Where have we got to be? Nowhere. Really? Oh, I can get on, said I. Biggest mistake ever. What was the first job I attempted, Mike?
I can't remember.
No, I can, unfortunately. It was that job. Yes, I wondered about that too. Greatly. If you're wondering, that's the Mac App Store on my main iMac. So I thought what I'll do is I'll update my system. Yeah, that went really well. Not. I have no idea what was wrong with that, but I thought, never fear. Carry on and do some other work. Which was when I noticed that was happening. I think I briefly mentioned this a few weeks ago. And it was a problem that I've been seeing on the Mac where it was just random faults. Nothing that you could say, oh, X has happened, so I need to do Y. No, just random weirdness. Well, I don't know if you're aware, but you can go into a force quit application situation if you're on a Mac. And it's at I say it's to an escape, but as you can see, it's Command Option Escape, and it lists everything that's running. You should not have 2 finders running. And that was why neither of them were responding. So I thought, I'll sort this out, I'll reboot. That also seemed like a good idea. Then it said there was an update available. So by the time I'd finished, Sunday was pretty much a write-off. Fortunately, by Monday, things had calmed down and I was back at the coalface, which was just as well. Monday was a very, very busy day. It was the Adobe Max keynote, which I always like to watch, listen to, laugh at, enjoy, hoping for updates to Creative Cloud. Anyway, there were updates to Creative Cloud and other things. So we'll talk about that in our update section. But Monday, I enjoyed watching that. I did watch that for 2 hours. Tuesday? Oh, I was not to be outdone. No, neither were Microsoft. They've had Ignite on all week. Now, we do have Windows users with us, and there's actually some very good news for Windows users. Also good news for Mac users from Ignite, and I thought the quality of the presentations was great. So again, we'll look at that in our update section, by which point it was Wednesday. I didn't like Wednesday, Mike.
Why?
You were here, weren't you? Yes, we were both here. We had to go out. That didn't start my day well. But then I had to go on a training course. Now, doesn't that look nice and modern? Yes. Sadly, the parking was nothing short of catastrophic. So it's a local centre. It's called the Life Centre. And I didn't really know much about it. Did you?
Me? No.
No, it's a kind of community centre. Brand new. Great facilities, apart from the parking. They got 55 spaces. Unfortunately, there were 30 people on the course that I was doing and 200 in the room next door. You could not move for cars. So I did the first run round with it and got shooed out of even the entrance to the car park. So I thought, well, I'll go round again. There's bound to be more space. But he said, you've got to park on the road. Well, by the time I'd finished, well, this was actually quite funny because by the time I'd finished, I said to Mike, and I went down the road and I had to keep going and I had to keep going. Well, by the time I got a space, it was next to the cemetery. And Mike went, what cemetery? I said, the cemetery where we buried my mother, remember? And he went, I thought you were off Manor Avenue. Now, that's like 3 miles away. I went, no, it was the Life Centre, which explained quite a lot. But I went round the block again and no joy. So at third pass, I thought, do you know what? If there's no parking, I'm going home. Sadly, I got a spot and I did complete my course. So I did my training on Wednesday. Then on Thursday, again, busy day, but got this little notification from Facebook and loved it. You know how Facebook tells you what happened a year ago, 2 years ago, 3 years ago? They sent me that one. And I put, it's my iPad's birthday. So I really enjoyed that day. I remember it well. I remember the surveillance that was required as well. But it was a good day. So it was good to be reminded of it. One of my friends put a comment on it and said, happy birthday, Paddy. She must have assumed I called my iPad Paddy. My iPad's not called Paddy, it's called Geronimo. Don't ask, long story. Anyway, that was Thursday, that was. But then on Friday, the reason that we did not have a MacBites after hours last night was we were out. Yet again, Mike was whining and dining me, weren't you?
I was.
Yes, he was enjoying himself rather as well. We went out to, it's an annual, it's not dinner dance, is it? It's a dinner, sportsman's dinner. And it was held in the Sir Alex Ferguson stand of Manchester United. It was for the Manchester United Disabled Supporters Association. Did I get that right, Mike?
You did.
Good. Mudsa, we call them. Again, night mode. Not bad. There wasn't much in the way of lighting, but not bad. Couldn't get him to smile until later, by which point somebody'd walked past him. But happy with the picky anyway. Anyway, we went in. I love going there, but honestly, I had my best bling bag with me, and look what they did with it. They slapped a security check on it, and it didn't matter who you were. The Manchester United manager was there, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, and he had his stuff checked as well. They really are very, 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 very strict on it. So my bling had to walk around with that on all night. It was a rather large do, as you can see. I wouldn't have guessed, actually, there was as many as they said there were, would you?
No.
My best guess would have been 300, maybe 350. Anyway, they did say at the end of the evening it had been the best attended dinner, and it was 630 people. And if you've missed the back of that chair in the lower left, each one of them looked like that. All embroidered it was. I was surprised, actually, because Mike said, I quite like the cups. They had the crest on them. I'm surprised you didn't want to bring a chair home, really. Because I thought they were very nice. If they sold those in the souvenir shop, I might actually be interested. Of course, going out meant we had to leave our beautiful doggy behind, who was less than impressed when we got home. Didn't look like she'd missed us at all. Yes, the other problem was we weren't getting any sleep at all. She'd got the entire bed. Oh, bless her little cotton socks. And considering that there was full of fireworks last night, yep, not bothered much? No, not at all. Not at all. Which takes us on to today. And obviously we're here now with you. But we did have, we've mentioned before that we do what we call a bank holiday breakfast club. Obviously, we've run out of bank holidays. For those abroad, how many bank holidays do we have in a year?
8.
Do we? That many?
Well, if you include Christmas Day. No, we don't.
No, you've got New Year's Day.
Yeah.
You've got Good Friday, Easter Monday.
2 in May.
2 in May, which is 5,
August,
and 1 in
6.
August. We have 6 bank holidays in a year. Well, we've run out. So we decided we'd have our own, and we had our bonfire breakfast club this morning. Sadly, by the time I took the photo, about 5 had left. But never mind, the rest of us are there. Doesn't Pauline look thrilled at the back there?
Can you turn me up a little bit?
I could turn you up a little bit.
Or stop asking me to respond.
Well, I could do that as well. You're supposed to let me know how your levels are. Anyway, we had a fab time. Now, one of the ones who had to go to work. So sadly, she's not in the picture. But she's the lady who's just been to San Francisco. If you remember, she'd been to somewhere called Lola's. Well, she moved on from there and she went to the dog shop. And look what she brought me back. Oh, we're loving it, loving it. So thank you very much to Carolyn for bringing that back. Lola was more pleased to see us when we got back. Yes, you're thinking, oh, she loves her mummy. Yeah, I had venison sausages, that was why. I thought I'll get some decent photos here. And I did, and she was very pleased. Anyway, let's get on to the tech of the week, Adobe Max. Who watched Adobe Max?
Jonathan wants to know if they had games demos.
No, they didn't. They had augmented reality demos, which were nothing short of freaky, I'm afraid.
You're echoing a little.
That's because you wanted turning up.
Well, turn me down and I'll say nothing.
Oh, that works for me. Right. Augmented reality, they were saying that they made software that would create the augmented reality. So this was at this conference that they were doing. And they demoed it. And it was basically a lady's day. And she went through the entire day and you could see the augmented reality flying around her. It was scary. It was scary. I don't know if anybody else saw it. If you did, let me know. But I just thought it was scary, scary beans. So, no, they didn't do games demos, but it was all a bit weird. The biggest thing out of Max, as Charles has mentioned, been disappointingly, Photoshop. Photoshop was promised this time last year. So this time last year, they said we're doing a version of Photoshop for the iPad. And they mentioned it being the real Photoshop, which obviously must have lost something in translation, because if you say something's the real deal, you expect it to be the real deal. They also said it would be available by March 2019. You'll notice it's not March. They missed that deadline, and to be honest with you, as Charles has said, what they've released, there's no way that that is real Photoshop. Not by what anybody else would consider to be real Photoshop. There is just so much missing, it's unbelievable. So although they've actually got it out, I would say it's still not ready for prime time. They did release new versions of all of the Creative Cloud apps, so Photoshop for desktop, Illustrator for desktop, InDesign, etc., Audition. But it was Photoshop for iPad that was getting all of the attention. So it is available. I contemplated doing a demo of it and then came to my senses. The problem with it is, it turned out to be basically a mismatch between engineering and marketing. Marketing were using the term real Photoshop. And the general public were thinking, oh, you mean full Photoshop. Full and real, not the same. Full means you can do anything that you can do on the desktop on the iPad. Real, apparently, air quotes, real, means that the version of Photoshop on the iPad is based on the same code base as the one on the desktop, which matters to nobody on the planet apart from the developers. What we want is real, full Photoshop. Well, we've not got it. It is very, very basic. And when you look at what it can't do, unfortunately, it's more than it can do. Adobe are focusing on what it can do, which is open up Photoshop files. But Affinity already does that. So nobody's getting excited about that, apart from Adobe. But when you look at things like what's missing in terms of it doesn't even have levels. And there's stuff that you'll do on the desktop that then you'll open that file on the iPad and you can see it, but you can't interact with it because that feature's not supported. Charles is mentioning here that they've messed up with shortcuts as well. And yeah, the workflow instance, it's not great. It's not great at all. They're bigging up the fact it will be improved. I just found it really weird that they've added, I mean, you've mentioned the shortcuts. From that screen there, you can see there's a dot. Let me show you where that dot is. She said, I've got Mike's problem here now. Where am I? Right, let me see if I can do it. Do you know I could do this in rehearsals, Mike? And I'm wondering why I can't now. Interesting. Right, let's try it. Ah, an arrow. You see that thing there that I'm pointing to? That thing. You are supposed to put your thumb on that, and it gives you basically a right click. well, why have I got to put my thumb there? Why can't I just put my thumb anywhere? Which is basically how the Affinity apps work. When you looked at the app, I thought, oh, it's Affinity Photo. They have taken the best of the look, but not added the power to it. So it's bad. It is really, really bad. I've no idea why they made the decisions they made, Charles. I would wonder, they've obviously had enough time to look at what Affinity have done. And I think what they hoped was that they would take the best of their interface and then make it better. But that's pretty much like taking the best of every car out there and then putting them together. You get a mongrel. You don't get the best of breed. You get something completely hideous, and that's where we're at. There is so much that's not there. I took the decision it probably wasn't worth looking at. The other problem with it, as you can see from that screen, it says free. And then next to it, it says offers in-app purchases. Well, it is indeed free to download. And if you have a full Creative Cloud subscription, you're good to go. You can just use it. If you don't, then you can subscribe to Photoshop for iOS for $9.99 a month. I'll just let that ferment for a while and point out that you could get the entire Affinity suite of applications for Windows, Mac and iOS for, I was going to say for a year, but no, it wouldn't be for a year. It would be until the next paid for version came out, while you are paying for 1 year's subscription for this. So it's just not great. I'm comparing it with Affinity Photo, but of course there's Procreate as well. And if you've used Procreate and then you try using this, it's bad. It's bad. Even the demos that they do where they've got artists up there. And I think to myself, you know, these are professionals and they're going to make it look easy. If you're in the UK, you may remember something called the Generation Game. It was basically a game, and a lot of the things in it, some Saturday night entertainment, where they'd get somebody on and they were, let's think, a juggler. And they'd show you how to do it for 30 seconds and then you were supposed to do it. And the point of the programme was you were useless at it and everybody just had a great laugh. And it's a bit like that. They get a pro out to show you how to do it and then you have a go and you're useless at it. But to be honest, even the pros, I didn't think did much that was actually pro. It's just, it wasn't good. They are talking, they took in this keynote time to tell us what was coming. That usually indicates what's there now isn't really good enough. They didn't acknowledge that it wasn't good enough. They just said they're going to make it better. But it's not good already. If you do have the Creative Cloud thing, by all means have a look at it. If not, I would say don't bother. Don't bother. Yes, they did bring out Fresco, but, you know, to me, why have you brought out something like that when you've already got Photoshop? You're just muddying the waters. And Adobe have been muddying the waters with apps and Creative Cloud since the iPad came out. I have iPads going back to iPad 1. Now, they didn't have stuff on iPad 1, but the oldest iPad I actually have in use is an iPad Air 2. And back then I was demonstrating Adobe stuff quite a lot, and I created an Adobe folder and I put a load of stuff in it. And I look back at these apps and I think, is this one dead? Oh, it's dead. Is this one dead? Oh, that one's dead. There are now that many different versions of Photoshop out there. I'm confused. Just for iPad. So they bring one out called Adobe Photoshop and you think, right, so they're going to pension everything else off and this is now it. And then you look at it and you think, oh my. And it's not good. The other thing that's really bad is they've missed the opportunity. You only get one chance to release it for the first time. And they've released it and they've missed the opportunity for something that would have maybe made it viable, which was the interoperation between Photoshop for iPad and Lightroom for iPad. They did bring out an update for Lightroom, but there's still no proper transfer of images between the two. There's no round tripping that's not without issue, where you wouldn't have to take it out as a JPEG and bring it back in. Oh, no. The other thing is they're talking up how they will update it in the future, and they've got big plans and big ideas. But they said exactly the same about Lightroom, and the frequency of updates to that has tailed off greatly. So we'll see where it goes. But right now, I certainly wouldn't pay $1.99 a month, much less $9.99. Better news from Microsoft. That's unusual. Don't hear me say that often, do you? They had their opening keynote on the Monday night, which was exactly the same day. That was a very technical one. They were talking about Arc, which is their server-side stuff. I watched the entire 2 hours of it, and it was good. It was a good presentation. It was a very nice presentation. I said to Mike, I love the way they've done it, that it didn't feel they were trying to over-polish it. Do you remember that one? Yes, Mike's nodding because he can't say anything. I've shut him up. There was a presentation a few years back when they were looking at Surface, and they were demonstrating this Surface, and Steven Sinofsky, little guy, did this hop, skip and a jump when the thing froze, as though we wouldn't notice, and picked up another one. They had like a line of them under the counter. And he was just trying to be too polished. If something doesn't work, say, that worked in rehearsal, and carry on. Don't try and hide it. And the entire thing, however good this presentation was in terms of content and delivery, all anybody was talking about was, did you see him go and switch that? Crashed on him. Didn't mention it though, did he? So this presentation was much better in terms of the people that they've got to do the individual little segments like Apple do. They really knew their stuff. They really knew their stuff. They also had a shop floor, and they were going out to the shop floor for some of these demonstrations. So it was very nicely done. Biggest thing that I was interested in was a completely new version of the Microsoft Office 365 app for iOS and Android. Now, you might think, just a minute, we've already got Word, PowerPoint, Excel and an Office 365 app for iOS and Android. The idea with this one is, and I'm not sure where they're coming from really, in terms of they've taken the functionality of Word, Excel and PowerPoint, and as it says there, it's now in one app. Now, it's not replacing Word, Excel and PowerPoint, it's in addition to them at the moment. What they would intend to do with that, I am not sure, because right now you could just use Word if you wanted, and you wouldn't need to download the other two. Now, the footprint of the integrated app is less, it's smaller in file size than the three other apps put together, because the common code between them is there's only one copy of it. Whereas if you install them separately, obviously you've got 3 copies of it. Whether it's worth bothering with? Well, at the moment it's in beta for iOS, and the beta is full. You can get on the beta program in Android if you are that way inclined. It will be coming out shortly. But one huge benefit in having it, this was a discussion Mike and I had a while back. We do a job where we need access to 2 different spreadsheets at the same time. Not where you've got 2 sheets in the same file. We actually need to see 2 different spreadsheets. I want them side by side. At this stage, this was pre-iOS 13. We've been using this solution we came up with for 3 years. In fact, it couldn't be that long, could it? It was, I think it was when iOS 11 came out, so 2 years maybe. What we do is, the only way around it was to have Excel open with one spreadsheet in it, and design the other spreadsheet in numbers and put them side by side on an iPad. It works. It's not great, but it works. So when iOS 13 came out, I said to Mike, we can ditch that now. We can put this spreadsheet that's in numbers, and we can put it in Excel, and I can open the 2 side by side. And Mike headed off. And he came back and said, you know that side by side thing? I said, yeah, doesn't work. I said, pardon? Doesn't work. Why? And he said they've not implemented it. Microsoft have not implemented support in any of their applications for side-by-side view on an iPad. And I said, you're kidding me. But no, apparently not. So I can't open 2 Excel files at the moment. But when you get your hands on this integrated app, you'll be able to. Because you can have this integrated app on one half of the screen, and then I could open Excel alongside it and access my files on OneDrive through them both, and I can now have two files side by side. I'd much rather they built the thing integrated and just had it done, but that's the way they've gone. So it's an integrated app. It's got more than just the 3 apps in it. It's got basically Office Lens in it and the ability to capture notes and ideas, as it says. So they're working on integrating the whole lot at the moment. We'll see where that takes us. Could be good, could be bad. I'm not on the beta program yet, but I will seriously try to get on it as soon as I can and have a look at it. The other thing they announced, which is interesting, is they're bringing out a new browser. Yes, another one. This one is Microsoft Edge, which obviously is already there, but you'll notice that's a completely different icon. It's a Chromium-powered Edge browser. So all of the incompatibilities that have been there with Edge are gone. It's using Chromium as its engine. It actually looks like Chrome to me. That looks like a Surface as well, doesn't it? And that is coming out in January. So if you are on Windows, you'll be very interested in that. I'm going to let Mike have a look at that when it comes out. Also of more significance to me, much more significance to me, was a while back they announced that they were bringing out another version of OneNote. So this was on Windows. They already had OneNote 2003, 2007, 2010, 2013 and 2016. It had always been there, going right back to the early, I think it was 2001, 2002 it first came out. They then brought another version out, and this was the Windows Unified version for Windows 10, the Universal Windows app. And once that, I saw it and thought, this is a toy. By comparison to the desktop version, which is OneNote 2016, I thought it was poor. So I thought, that's fine, 2016 still there. But what started to happen was there was a lot of development work went into the Universal Windows app for Windows 10, and very little changed in OneNote 2016. So I said to Mike, this is looking like the death knell for it. And it was. When they announced the 2019 version of the Office apps, they decided they were not updating OneNote, and it would go into sort of a maintenance mode. It would continue to work for as long as they decided it would. And that was that. Which is bad, because OneNote 2016 is a fully fledged app with support for automation. And the Windows thing is just a toy. It's not. Well, they announced at Ignite they were bringing it back to life. It's not a full OneNote 2019 version, but what they will be doing with it is bringing out an update to it, and it was due to expire for support in October 2020. They've extended that to October 2025 now. So it's still OneNote 2016, but you will be able to download it either independently or choose to install it with your Office version, which you couldn't previously. But instead of just doing that, they've added features to it as well. So it's now got this dark mode. They've improved readability in low light and various other things. I think they've done that because they realised that people just were not, the uptake of the UWP version just wasn't there. So that's where they're heading with that. So we've got another 5 years of support on it. In fact, six years support right as of today, which, although I'm on a Mac, there are certain things that you can only do in the Windows desktop version. So even I have the Windows desktop version installed. I mean, I'll give you an example of one of the things that you can only do in that version. Back up your files. Yeah, it's crazy, isn't it? That's the only version. So that's why I have that installed. Anyway, so that was catching up on all. There's so much tech news this week. It's unbelievable. But I got a new toy this week. I'm a sucker for a new toy, and this is a good new toy. It's called DemoPro. It's for screen annotation. You've actually seen me use it tonight. I think I need to make a change in Keynote to make it work properly. But if I show you, where are we? Trying to work out which key I used. It's like you said, Mike, I've forgotten which key I used. One was a D, I think. Maybe not. Ah, it was S, that's right. This tool that I'm using to annotate around there is not coming from Keynote. It's actually desktop wide. Prove the point, if I move on, it's still there. Excellent. Right, what it is, it allows you to draw either freehand with arrows or with rectangles anywhere on your screen. Now, the URL for this is demoproapp.com, but I will come out and show you all about it. Right, I have the need on a regular basis to draw on my screen. Mike has the need to draw on his screen on a regular basis. And there has been no app that's actually perfect. The nearest I got to it was this app, which is called Desk Scribble. So you run it. It's a full app, as you can see. It's basically like a whiteboard. But the beauty of it was you could, in here, change the canvas from white to black and transparent. So if I wanted to annotate something, so let's get, I think I had a browser over here. Let's bring my browser on. There we go. So let's say I want to point out some things in here. What I'd have to do is bring Desk Scribble to the front and choose a nice colour and start drawing around it. And obviously I can, and it works. But it's quite distracting that I can't actually interact with this at this stage. If you look at my pointer, it's changed to a pencil. And that's that. That's all I can do with it until I come out of it. So I can change the width and I can erase bits of it if I want to. But it never felt fully integrated with the system. And I really didn't like that I couldn't hide the controls at the top, nor could I interact. So I'm trying to scroll that web page and I can't do it. I've got to come out of Desk Scribble to do it. Now I can come out and do it like that, and then I can go back into it. And it retains the marks that I've put there, but it's certainly not ideal. It was the nearest I could get. So this new app, which I've helpfully, well, not helpfully hidden in here, is this one. So that's what the interface looks like. You can choose the width of the line. You can choose some colour presets and switch between them. And then you've got the option for how to activate it. Now, I'll talk about that when I've shown you activating it. But here you go. Here's the shortcuts. You could do a freehand with Control and S. Lines with the Q and arrows with A. That's enough to be getting on with, really, but we've also got the Z there. So what I'll show you is a freehand one like that. So I'm holding the key down and drawing around it. And as you can see, it's a little bit messy. It is a bit messy when you're doing it by hand. But if you wanted to point something out, now that's because I've got a shortcut key wired up to that. I need to get rid of that, don't I? Or not demonstrate it with the browser. But I can hold down the A key and I get a nice arrow. Whee! So that's actually much more useful than the one that I was using before. It had none of that ability at all. Right, so let's clear that and let's come back in for the next one. We had Q. Now Q lets you draw lines. So if you wanted to try and draw around it like that, you could do. There we go. All with straight lines. Quite nice. You do have to remember. That's also one thing. You do have to remember the keystrokes. And Mike said to me, I'm forgetting these keystrokes. But you'll get used to them. There is also this one. So let's bring that back on. No, that's not having that. Let me have a look what that one is. I can't remember all the shortcut keys yet. I'm looking for rectangle Z. That's right. That made no sense to me. But it's Z. So it's far easier for me to, and neater for me to demonstrate it like that. So to draw on it, I am holding down the Control key and the Z key. And that's when my pointer changes to have that dot under it. And then I can draw around it. If I want an arrow, I let go of the Z key and I hold down the A key and point up to it. If I want to draw a line, let go of that one and use the Q key. Then when you're done, you use Control and X to get rid of it all. That is amazing. As somebody who demonstrates software, that's amazing. Now, people have said to me, why is that so important? Well, it's important for situations like right now. Because right now, whatever I demonstrate, however I need to highlight something, I have to be able to do it live. So people have said, oh, but Camtasia can do all that, so why do you need it? That's great if I'm recording a video, but it doesn't work if I'm doing a live demonstration. So there are some things that can only be done, that you need to do live. There's no point telling me I can do it in post, because there's no such concept of post. Although this video goes up to YouTube, it goes up unedited. It's actually going up to YouTube right now. YouTube are handling it. So anything that I need to do, I need to demonstrate in real time. And there seems to be a distinct lack of applications that can do that. While we're talking about that, there was also a sad demise this week. You'll have noticed that I use an app called Zoom It, which is this one. And it lets me zoom in and show you certain things. And I thought that'd be good for Blog30, thought I. So I went off to find the price. Didn't end well. Not in the App Store anymore. So if you've got it, you can carry on using it. If you've not, you can't buy it anymore. Not best pleased with that. The reason seems to be, and it is a Mac only application, the reason seems to be, good evening Carl, that there is an inbuilt option to do it. Who knew? The inbuilt option is very fiddly, but it can be done. So I'll have a look at that in another show. But just to show you that there is an inbuilt option, there's the inbuilt option. So you can see how similar they actually are. In fact, Zoom It, which runs from in here somewhere. Where is Zoom It? Your Zoom It. You can actually change the shape to a rectangle. So that's what Zoom It looks like. Now that's actually a little bit fuzzy. So a lot of people went for the square one. I never did. And now because it's built in, they've discontinued it. So more on that in a future show, I promise. That one died this week. But the other one I'm absolutely loving. I am absolutely loving this. Really am. I've always wanted that. Now, Mike can demonstrate in an upcoming show what he does on Windows. There is an app, and this app, DemoPro, is actually based on the Windows app. A Mac user said he'd used a Windows machine for a while and come to the conclusion that they had a fantastic app on there, and we didn't on the Mac, and that was why he built it. All right, so let's get that out of the way and go back into here. So it was very inexpensive. It was $1.99. So I decided I would take the plunge because obviously you don't get any demo versions. One thing I didn't show you, I should show you that, shouldn't I? I should show you that. This is rather cute. If I decided that I was going to take a break, which I don't tend to on live courses, but I do face-to-face, you have the ability to set a timer up. You can start that timer, and you can also, in here I do believe, no, hang on, how did I do that? There we go. You can take it full screen and you leave that running, which is all quite nice. So I'll set that and come out of it. Oh no, come on. Don't tell me you're not gonna come out for me. That would not be good. It's not. It's not. Oh no. In fact, that's giving me major problems. That is covering up everything. But never mind, I'll fix it. Can I come out of it up here? That's naughty. There must be a shortcut key. And it's not one of the normal ones. Let me try all of the normal ones. Nope, it's none of the normal ones. Do you want to try and find out for me, Mike, how I'm actually going to get rid of that? I can get rid of it.
This is the problem I had the other night.
With what?
I couldn't remember how to get out of it, having activated it.
Oh, hang on. Got it. And one of the keys in escape. Good call there. Good call. One of the keys in escape. It's a nice addition. It's just there. It's nice. So I'm liking that. Right, freebies. Now, keep an eye on these. They are our usual ones. They are from Creative Market. But I had a look at them this week and I thought, now that one I like. That question from Deborah. Will that run over the top of a live PowerPoint? Should it be proved we can get rid of it? Do you mean the timer or the actual thing? The drawing around thing? Because the drawing around thing definitely can. If we do... Let's do that. You get that on there and you can draw around it. Now, I know there are inbuilt tools, but I prefer to use something external, to be honest. So that will sit over the top of it. Let's have a look. Let's do the T and get the timer. Let's start it and take it full screen. Yes and no. Yes and no. The timer's over the top of it, but as soon as the timer goes full screen, it stops the presentation. So let's try that again. No, hang on, it doesn't. What it does do... Oh, that's an interesting one, that, Deborah. I'm impressed with that question. Oh, that's a nightmare. Right, you're looking at... Let's get rid of that for the moment and talk it through with this on it. Oh, this is a nightmare. The mouse pointer keeps vanishing. That's the problem. When I get the mouse pointer over the main screen, it disappears. Is that something I need to... Oh, we're going to have to come out and have a look at this now. This is no good at all. I'm definitely going to have to do that. In the settings, sometimes when you do things like this, you've got to fiddle with the settings in Keynote. So these are the settings in Keynote. Now, this is all to do with the general stuff, but in the slideshow, you should get some options. So in the interacting, you've got to show the pointer only on slides with links or movies. Or you can show the pointer when using the Mac or with mouse or trackpad. That really needs to be on for the rest of it to work. Now, off screen, I've got my presentation. So that's my presentation. I have my presentation on my external screen on my left. Well, this is a real deep dive, this. I'm liking this. So I tend to have that over here. But when I run it... So let's get rid of this and explain how I actually run this. I don't know if you will have noticed this, but if you're running a presentation, you would use the presentation keys and go into it. So there's my presentation. That's the slide I'm on. You see me every week come in and go out to things. So for instance, when I've got to the end of this, I'll be talking about something else. I'll go into the next thing. That's what we're talking about next. And then there's a black slide. So at the moment, my screen is still, Keynote is still running. Now, I then press a key and it disappears. But you don't see anything. You just see it switch from Keynote to my desktop. So it's a very clean way of going in and out of my presentation. But my presentation is still running. In the background, my presentation is still running. So if you can imagine that I've done... Will you stop squeaking? If you can imagine I've done a lot of different things. So I've demonstrated this and I've demonstrated that, and maybe we've brought the browser on and all the rest of it and I've taken it away. I then press the same key and I go back into my presentation. And that slide is the black slide that was there that I came out to. So when you look at that in here, there's that black slide. I go from that slide to that one, and then I lose Keynote. When I've finished, I come back in to that slide. That's why the screen goes black. But if I hadn't have told you I was going in and out of Keynote, you would have thought that black bit was just me whipping in and whipping out. You know, starting something, doing something, that I was pressing a button somewhere. No, it took me ages to make this work. That's why it's worth taking a little bit of time and explaining to you how it works. So throughout my presentation, whenever I go out, and I went out in the middle of DemoPro, you'll find a black slide. So basically, for me, this Keynote file runs the entire after hours. I don't need a running order. This is it. When I see a black slide, I press the magic key. Now, the magic key is whatever you want it to be. It isn't built into Keynote. You have to do this outside. But all it's doing is hiding Keynote. So if I actually use the magic key now, Keynote would just disappear. Use the magic key again, and it brings it back. So that's how I go in and out. Irrespective of whether Keynote is actually running or not, it just hides Keynote. So Keynote is there and it's still full screen, but it's in the background and we don't see it. And I've never once inadvertently brought it to the fore again. I'm touching wood because tonight will be the night, having said that. But that's why throughout my presentations you will find black slides. There'll be more black slides later on. There's one after Mike's thing. Here we go. Excel text functions. There's a black slide. That's what the black slides are for. So with that running, if I was on that one and it was running and I use the magic key, it would lose Keynote. I use the magic key, Keynote comes back. The black slide is there just so you don't see the previous slide and then I've got to quickly move on to the next one. That's what the black slide's for. Right, now, why am I talking about all of that? Well, we're now talking about having this timer over the top of it. And what happens as soon as I take that full screen? I'm wondering if I could actually show you this. Not easily is the answer to that. Or could I? I think I could. I think I could. Let's have a go. I could potentially show you what's happening on my screen with a webcam. So let's see if we can do that. Let's get giddy with it. Right, let's put that up so you can see my screen. And let's go picture in picture. Right, that looks all right. There's picture in picture. So I'm going to show you my second monitor. There's my primary monitor. There's my secondary monitor. Oh, we can do anything here. Right, so this is what I see, obviously, when I go into my presentation. So we've got the presenter view over there and we've got the slide over here. So I then bring up that timer. And if I'm just starting it, I could start the timer. I can move it around and that works fine. And I could scale it up, but that looks messy, doesn't it? I could do that, which is using Command and F. Now, I programmed that, but what I've done is I've taken that to full screen, but not macOS full screen. You can see it's not full screen because you've got the pointer, the traffic lights at the top. All right. But doing that, you can see on this monitor, I've still got my slides. But here's the alternative. Let me take that back. That wasn't what I wanted to do with that. Let me take it back. There we go. So how we started was we had that. Now, to make it neat and tidy, completely neat and tidy, I'd need to double click on the top. No. Oh no, I hit the green button, didn't I? There we go. Hit the green button. Now you should have seen what's happened over here. Keynote's vanished, so I assume at that point that it's closed, not closed Keynote, but it's come out of presentation mode. That's not good. But actually it hasn't. If I come out of that, you may have seen the screen slide slightly, which means if I use my magic key again, Keynote is actually running in the background, but it's not quite as seamless as I would have liked it. But sort of it can be done. So the answer to that, Deborah, it can sort of be done. I can show you, if you like, in another show what the magic key is and how it's actually configured. If that would be useful, Deborah, let me know. That's the kind of thing I talk about on Slide IQ, all the presentation stuff. But that was an excellent question. When we started the After Hours, we were only intending to do one, and we enjoyed it so much we did another. By Christmas Eve, I said to Mike, this After Hours is sort of running away with itself. It needs to be self-driven, that I don't need iPads hanging around with the stuff that's going on, etc. I just need the thing to run. So how I'm going to do it is to create a PowerPoint, a Keynote presentation. It would make no difference. PowerPoint works exactly the same. And I'm just going to follow that through. And that's what I do every week. So there's 50 odd presentations up there now. That's what I was saying last week about sharing the slides. You'd love to know. Right, okay, I will do that. Mike will make a note of that. How I do the magic 8 ball, we'll call it. The 8 key is involved. Do you know why it's the 8 key? Because it looks like a pair of glasses side on. So I can always remember if I want to hide it or show it, I involve the 8 key. But back to this. which was where I was talking about 10 minutes ago. Do download these. This is one I'm going to do as a demo. I'm going to use that chocolate packaging mock-up because I like the look of it. It will demonstrate, it's a Photoshop file and it's got smart objects in it. So it will demonstrate that. If I'm going to do Photoshop smart objects and everybody's spitting on Adobe, and I understand why, I will show you the kind of workaround for smart objects in Affinity. So if you want to download that file, download it before Monday and you'll be able to follow along with it. And you can get that from Creative Market. Oh, Slide IQ. Yes, Slide IQ has been a little dusty at the moment, but I have a range of webinars that I run. Tend to run them for on a single client basis. So I don't think I've done public ones on Slide IQ for a while. But we did a while back, but it tends to be private clients now. But I do a lot of training on presentations and I live in Keynote. Keynote's open. You know, if you had one of those apps that tracks which apps you use, I would have Keynote running about 23 hours a day. I did do on a very early after hours that you may have missed. I did show people how I did a presentation that became a nightmare. You know, one of these that it's going to be really easy. You just need, the presenter was coming in and all I needed to do was move the slides on. How difficult could that be? I thought, I'll believe that when I see it. So I took my laptop, a spare laptop, and 5 iPads, 2 iPhones, which was just as well because she had put her presenter's notes in the presenter's notes, which is fine. But given that the projector would only mirror, she couldn't see them if she was presenting. That's not good when she arrives 3 minutes before she's due to start. But what I did was I put an iPad next to her and I could show her presenter notes on that while the main machine was doing something entirely different. I'll find out which show it was. Mike can go off and get that. Looking at a question about an audio interface splitter cable for USB-C. Do you know, I haven't seen one of those. Ooh, has Greg going away and finding out? I certainly haven't seen one of those. I do have a dongle, and my dongle's got loads of stuff on it. Can you just pass me that dongle, Mike? In that thing near the handle on the door. I'm not sure if it's got audio on it. Let's have a look if it's got audio. That's the one. It's got everything else on it, but no audio. So no, mine doesn't have audio. Very quick and clever. It was a nightmare, Deborah. That story is so funny because there was also a guy at the back of the room and there were 2 people who had sight problems and they wanted to read the notes. Thank God I took 5 iPads with me. I hooked them up in front of them and I cranked up the size and they could actually see the slides. So they weren't using her presenter notes. They just couldn't see the slides very well. They just had vision problems. So I said, well, it's all right. I'll prop up an iPad in front of the 2 of you and then you can look at that. The guy at the back of the room was co-tech assisting with me. And obviously his, the laser thingy, the flicker, wouldn't go that far because it was about 20 metres away. So I said, well, it's all right. I'll give you an iPad as well and we'll all go on the same wireless network and then you can move it on or I could move it on. Oh, I've got pictures of that. Yeah, the triple vodka I had when we'd finished. But you know, it made such a good demonstration of what you can achieve. Because I came home and I laid all the iPads out and I said to Mike, watch this. And he had no idea. And the thing is, it's not obvious you can do it. It's not intended that you can do it. But as long as you do it in the right order, it works. But if you try doing it on the wrong device first, it doesn't work at all. And you can think, oh, no, that's not going to work. But it does, as long as you do it right. So I had the 5 iPads, the 2 iPhones, 2 laptops, and a laser pointer, all controlling the presentation. It could have gone really badly, but it didn't, thankfully. Okay, we're moving on to Blog30. Who has read at least one of these blog posts? Because if nobody's reading them, you are in deep trouble. Deep trouble while I am writing them. Right, we are looking first at Divi. So now you know I'm using the magic key to get out of that. But I will lose the P in P. The P in P will do us no good at all, will it? So let's just go back to the iMac and lose the P&P till later. If you're wondering how the P&P is happening, that's the broadcast software. That's something entirely different. That's nothing to do with Keynote. Right. Oh, good. Paul's read one. Excellent. Dare I ask which one, Paul? Right. Blog30. Oh, good. And Kim's read one too. Right. Blog30, if you recall, was the plan to demonstrate Scrivener. Don't see Peter tonight. Are you hiding, Peter? I thought it needed a real world project, so a real world project it got. And we published, I did the first one on Friday, a week last Friday. That week yesterday, wasn't it? And then I did another one on the night. Well, I've carried on since, Luke. I've been really good, really good. That was the one that came out last week, I think. Yes, that was Fridays, I do believe. Yes, it was. No, hang on. That was Saturdays. And I've carried on since. But we discussed themes. So we looked at the tech stack, and the tech stack was all of the applications that I use to be able to publish, to write first of all, and then publish the content. So I've got 3 areas to look at tonight in what's powering all of this. And the first one that I'm looking at is the Divi theme. So you are aware that my blog is hosted on WordPress. WordPress is free to install. You will need hosting. Now, one of the blog posts that was recommended that I write was hosting a website on a budget, and I will do that. You don't get much cheaper than free. So WordPress is free. You could self-host it, but that would probably be a nightmare. You'd need an always-on internet connection and all kinds of magic to make it work. But there's lots of inexpensive WordPress hosting out there. Or you can use WordPress from wordpress.com, and then they will host it for you. Now, I am hosted on SiteGround, and there is automatic install of WordPress. You just kind of say, I just want a WordPress install, and it will give you a WordPress install. Or you could do it the right way, which in my case is hand it over to Mike, and then he does it, because that's his thing. I look after the network and presentations and application stuff, and he looks after the website stuff. But when I say the right way, it's probably more equal now doing it automatic versus manual than it ever has been. But many years ago, it wasn't very secure if you did it automatically. You would be better to do it manually. So we have just done it manually ever since, and that's what we do. Now, you'll remember Jonathan last week saying that he'd taken his blog down. He was having trouble finding a theme. Well, the thing with WordPress is if you just go to Google and you put WordPress theme, you will find millions of them. There are first the WordPress.com main site, and these are the themes that you can get if you are hosting your blog on their site. So you can see all of these. So there's lots and lots of themes available. Years ago, the theme just changed the look of your site. Obviously, this one here with the mountains is very, very different than this one here with, well, say this one that looks more like a standard blog. Then you've got something that's very visual. That looks like Pinterest. But you scroll down, you've got something with a huge graphic or something that's more text-based. So the theme used to just change the look of it. And to some degree, it still does. And I'm scrolling and scrolling, and you can see how many themes there are. So how on earth do you choose a theme? Well, if you find a theme and it just happens to look exactly as you would want it to look. And my eye is drawn to this theme down here, this Franklin theme, because that looks remarkably like a site we built about 15 years ago, 16 years ago. We used those colours even. So if you find a theme that's exactly the look you want, great, then go for it. You can see that design, you can use it and it's free. So when it comes to hosting a website on a budget, there's a free theme sitting on top of a free blogging platform, sitting on top of free hosting. There you go, you're done. But I guarantee you will want to do something eventually that is remarkably simple in your mind, and there's just no way that the theme you have will do it. It's just the way it works. Because, as I've said, most themes are to do with the look of the thing. Now, if you're prepared to spend money to solve a problem, which obviously I have because it's self-hosted, and I've got my own theme going on, then you get the best of all worlds, believe me. So this is elegantthemes.com. Now, they used to do a whole range of themes. In fact, I'm just having a look, see if they still do it or whether they are mainly focusing on Divi. But what they used to do was they would build a WordPress theme and they would release it. Probably they'd do about 8 to 10 different themes a year. You joined as a member and you got access to all of them for the duration of your membership. And we tried it. I think we took it for a year and I said, I really like this theme. It wasn't Divi at the time. There was a range of themes. One of them had 3 blocks on it and I remember putting it on Slide IQ. It was the 3 different things that I do via Slide IQ. So one was training PowerPoint and Keynote. The other was presentation skills, and then there was something else. And the theme that I picked worked perfectly. I probably got a screenshot of it somewhere. But what happened was Elegant Themes developed a new theme and they called it Divi. And the idea is it's divisions of a page. So it's like building blocks. And all of a sudden they started releasing far fewer themes. They may only do 1 or 2 a year because what they had in mind was building the ultimate theme. And in my opinion, Divi is the ultimate theme. So Mike can put the link in for that. Roger, who was with us at another After Hours, got Divi and put it on his site. It looks great. He's hosting photos. His photos are amazing as well. Just after seeing the little bit that I talked about on Divi, but Divi can do now amazing things. Instead of Elegant Themes putting out a theme, and that one's the green one, and then they bring out another one, and that one's blue. You can make Divi look like anything you want. And more importantly than that, they give you a virtual endless library of layouts to do it with. So let's see if we can go into Divi and see some layouts. So these are the Divi layout packs. These are packs of layouts. You can see there's over 1,000 of them that you get completely free. So if there's one, maybe you're into yoga and your yoga teacher has asked you to do a website, then that's all you need to do. Just go there. There's a site. You can view the live demo. And it will say that you can make that, and it's not even that difficult. You've got all your navigation at the top, so you can go meet the team, all the instructors, and you can click on these and get details, etc. You've got contact details. There's some class details there. Yeah, Google Maps is not working properly at all at the moment, not for anybody. So these are the classes. You see how it fades in? You years ago would have needed to know 3 million different languages to do that. You don't need to know any languages at all. You do this all visually. But if you want a page that looks like that, say I wanted to put that on Slide IQ and have my 10 part series just looking like that, I could do that. I could just use this page, swap out a few graphics, and I'm done. It would then match my site. So Divi became more than a theme. I would say Divi is a platform. Now, I know WordPress is the platform. Divi sits on top of WordPress and enables you to do virtually anything. So I wanted to show you Divi before we went any further with Blog30. So that's the Divi homepage on here. Let's go back a bit. There we were. I think you can go up here and you can actually try it. You can see the back end and you can have a play with it. You could take it out for a year or you can take a lifetime license. So it's $89 a year for the whole thing, or you can get this. Now, if you're thinking of buying, don't do it just yet. Wait until we finish this look in November, because there is a sale coming at the end of November for Black Friday. So only another 2 and a bit weeks and there'll be a big sale on. So you heard it here first. Leave it alone right now unless you're desperate. It's worth every penny. It really is worth every penny. So what do you do with it? How does it work? Well, you download it. You download a file and you end up with a zip file. I could probably do that. We'll take that over here, but I'll also show you the back end of it and what that actually looks like. So I am on the other screen logging in. That's not going well. My username's not there, Mike. If you ever had one of those days. My username is probably... I was going to say it's my email address, but you know I don't even think it is. Oh, it's all right, I'm in. Right, I'm in. This is what the back end looks like when you log into your user area. And you can download the Divi theme. Yeah, I paid an alarmingly ridiculously cheap amount, Simon, as well. I think I got a deal on it. I paid for 1 year at $36, and I think I got the upgrade for $48, but that was many years ago. Divi has, the one thing I will say about them is if you are in any doubt as to like, well, I'll pay that money and then there'll be no updates, this is updated virtually weekly. And the updates aren't just like bug fixes. They've literally just brought out version 4 and it's amazing. I'm going to show you tonight one of the features that is utterly amazing. If you've ever used WordPress, you'll look at this and think, wow, I guarantee it. But what you need to do is download Divi. So you can see it's very simple. You go here, you've got all the instructions for how to do it using the builder, loads and loads of tutorials, documentation, video, you name it. But basically what you would need to do is just click the download button and it will download Divi. So it's downloaded. You will then, so I can come out of there then, you will then in your download folder have, and I will attempt to find it here. Let's do that. You will have a file called divi.zip. Now, you can, of course, go into divi.zip. I'm giving you a quick preview of what's in it. That is what a WordPress theme looks like. It's got all of the content in it. You'll see there's fonts in there, there's JavaScript in there, there's graphics in there, there'll be code, there's CSS, the whole thing. All of the theme is in there. PHP files, the lot. Ooh, even a Photoshop file. That Photoshop file is there, so it's the right size and you can edit it. So there is a blank logo and there's also one for you to edit. You would want for nothing with this. You would not need to do anything apart from that. You'll notice I haven't unzipped it because it's actually much quicker to install it if you upload the zip file. Once you have uploaded the zip file, which you do through the back end, so I'm going into the back end in here, and in the back end you will find there is an area for themes. So appearance themes, and all you would do with it is upload it. So this one, 2019, was the default when I installed this, I think, or it got updated. That's the theme that WordPress give you. To add a theme, you just need to click the Add Themes button and then upload it. When you've done it, it will look like that there, that says Divi. Now, you might be wondering why I've got 2 themes there that both look like Divi. The one in the middle is Divi. So that version in the middle is that thing that I have just downloaded. When it's uploaded, it will look like that there. That is not the active theme on this site. The active theme is over on the left-hand side and it's called Divi Junior. Divi Junior is a child theme, hence the junior name. You don't need to do that, but if you want to get clever with it, you can make changes to the code yourself. And obviously I experienced enough to do that, and I have wanted to do that over the years. So I need a child theme because if I edit the Divi theme and then I update it, my changes are going to be lost. But all of the changes that I have made in that child theme can be done a different way now. So I might choose to ditch that, but certainly a lot of the changes that I have put in there would no longer need a child theme to work. An example would be, we talked about the footer. You will remember I showed you a site where I had done a new footer for it, right down the bottom. It's a long site, there we go. Previously, this black bit at the bottom was the footer. And if you look at my blog, that is what the footer looks like. Very, very simple. And that alone took something like 300 lines of code to achieve. Brilliant. This one, not one line of code. And that includes the black bit at the bottom and the brown bit. Not one line of code. So in my site, I had to have a child theme to have that customized footer. But with the new version of Divi, I don't. So don't worry about child themes. You could probably just install Divi and get away with it. Right, we've got a question. Is this sort of like Genesis and the child themes? It is. Genesis is there. Yes, Genesis became before Divi. The reason I didn't go down that route, I didn't really want to be locked in to an entire ecosystem around Genesis. I wanted to have something that I could tinker with and play around with. And Divi gave me that. But what's happened since I got it, and as Simon was saying, he thinks he paid £75, I paid £48. It's gone up because it now is so much better. So it's similar in terms of what it does. Hopefully when we finish this, you'll get an idea of whether what you've got suits you better or maybe this would be better. Just depends. But yes, it's very, very similar in concept. Right, we don't need that one. We don't need the yoga site. And I went in there to show you, as I put WordPress themes, you can see 70 themes for this, blah, blah, blah. Another thing to think about when you're getting a theme is you can never assume there'll be updates to it. And one of the things that happened about 18 months ago was YouTube suddenly decided, Google suddenly decided that was it. If your site wasn't responsive, they were dumping you from the search results. Well, it's not your fault if you've bought a theme and the theme isn't responsive. That's why you can see how many here say they are responsive, because if you don't have a responsive site, you're not listed in Google anymore. I had to completely update that site that I showed you a couple of weeks back, this one, because it wasn't responsive. It had been built eons ago and it wasn't responsive. It is responsive now. That is Divi. There we go. Needs a bit of work on it, I would say, but it's responsive. So I didn't lose my ranking in Google. So I'm back in the end here, this one. That is how you install it. So you would pay the money, download it, and then click on Add New Theme. Upload it, there it is. And all you then need to do is activate it. So as you hover over it, there is an Activate button. And that's what I did with this one, and that is the active theme. So that is Divi, installed, configured, done, happy. Now, if you've tried editing a theme before, it can be a nightmare. You have always had this customize button, and that will take you in and let you edit certain bits of it. At this stage, you're using WordPress to do it. So it tells you what the active theme is, it tells you the name of the site, and it gives you all of these lovely little things here to change. But not everything on your site can be done through this. If we look at it, this is the preview of what it will look like. So if we look at, say, the header and navigation, the primary menu bar, that is what this looks like up here. So you can see the active link is blue, so we're on the home. The text colour is this colour. The background colour is white. The drop-down menu is that colour, and the drop-down, etc. So it's all there, and you could make some changes to it in there. But like I say, you can only really fiddle with what is exposed of the look of your site via WordPress. You can't get down deep and dirty in it and think, do you know what, I'd really like to style this button, because it's not listed. And if it's not listed, you can't edit it. And that's the problem. So another thing to think about with themes is Yes, it looks grand out of the box, and now I just want to move that by 3 pixels. How easy is that? And in most themes, it's nigh on impossible. Divi, not so. So I wouldn't use that. I never go in there and use that at all, ever. None of it. You leave it alone. So I don't fiddle with the appearance. There are 2 exceptions to that. One is the widgets. A widget is where, oh dear, didn't like that, did it? Getting there. A widget's where you make, I have no idea why that's doing that. A widget's where you make your navigation. So here are my navigation things that are in there. I've put my navigation in the sidebar, etc. The other one is the menus, where I actually define what is in the menus. So that's my primary navigation menu. Home, About Me, Presentation, Slides, Videos, etc. So I do use those 2 because that's the only way to do certain things. But the rest of it happens with Divi. So I'm going to show you in here. So far, I've tagged all these Blog30 posts as Blog30. So if I look at that, at the top, it's in a category of Blog30. And if we go back, the other ones are in categories of Blog30. Sometimes they're in more than one category. Sometimes they're not. So those 2 aren't. But this one, I do believe, is a Working Out Loud post. Yes, and productivity. So that's in 3 categories. But this Blog30 that it's in, if I have a look down here, and that's what the post was, looked like that, blah, blah, blah. And then we come to the bottom, and that's it. This is a series, though. And as far as I'm concerned, although there's no common thread between, it's not a 30-part epic story that you literally read one and you carry on. It's 30 random posts maybe, but pulled together under the Blog30 header. I've done this before. Let me show you. So if we go to the home page and we go back a couple of years. So these are the blog posts. We go back to 2017. I did a whole range of posts, 50 of them in 50 days. Here's the ones. I did a bike challenge to raise money for the church roof. The hackneyed reason we needed a new roof. And it raised a couple of £1,000 in sponsorship. So not only did I undertake to cycle 40k a day, which is just over a marathon, I think, isn't it? I think it's something like 25 miles a day, that. Not only did I cycle 2,000k, 40k a day, but I also wrote a blog post about my life every day. So, of course, all of these are hashtagged ASRF 4050. If you're wondering, All Saints, name of our church, roof fund, 40k a day for 50 days. And as I started doing it, people were, I mean, not particularly at that stage, but let's go back a little bit more. Maybe they weren't reading them at the very beginning. Maybe they missed the first 10, or maybe they ducked in at, say, day 20. And they were wondering, oh, teeth, Kim, yes, I think, yes, I was signed off from the dentist on that day after 2 years of treatment. Yes. So I was very, very happy that day. They wanted to read the previous posts. Now, obviously, they could use this and navigate backwards and find the previous posts. Do you know, it's really good looking back at some of these. They bring the days back to me. We went and we played archery that day. And that day, we went and we did a Munich thing. So it's really good to look back on these. I'm really glad that I did it. But one of the problems was I was finding it very difficult to showcase the individual days on other days. So if we go into this one, I have found a way to do it. Let's see if I did it properly though. Yeah, see what's happened here. Right, what needs to happen is, you see down the side, I've got day 1, day 2, day 3. Brilliant. Perfect. You could do that and you can go to any one of these days there. So I think the last few, let's have a look at day 50. Did Mike cycle as well? No, he didn't. No, he didn't. Right, here we go. This was day 50. Now, so what I've done on day 50 is I've got all of the days down the side there. And I've also had a play around with putting the days across the bottom. And I think they look better across the bottom. So that's what I'm going to do. But you'll notice on this one, that was day 14, I've got them down the side. And I've got them all the way across the bottom. But I've got these and it says other updates. I was doing it manually. It's criminal. I was actually doing it manually. This content here is coming from the post. So every day I had to copy it and add another day and then paste it. And that gave you a problem that on this day, 14, can you get to day 20? Not from there you couldn't. Not from there you couldn't. So in the end, I gave up doing it because it was just too much grief. You don't want to have the navigation for ASRF 4050 down the sidebar on every post. And that's the only option that WordPress gives you. This is a post page. Remember we talked about the differences between posts and pages. This is a post. You can define what a post page looks like, but without writing 15 pages of code, you can't easily say, if the post is a roof fund post, make it look like that. And if it's not, make it look like this. That is very difficult in WordPress. Very difficult. But you can see with this, well, she must have done it somehow. Because I do have all 50 days down the side and I do have all 50 days across the bottom. This is the one I'm going to stick with. So it would make sense for any blog post that was tagged Blog30 to have 30 days worth of content down here, wouldn't it? Oh, yes, it would. But how do you do that? And you'd need plugins and you'd need dirty hacks and it's horrible. Or you'd need Divi. So what I thought I'd do is show you, just as an example of what Divi can actually do and why I would pay for it, is to show you how easy it is to take one of my posts. So we'll get one of my Blog30 posts, just to show you, Blog30, that will do nicely. It does not have any special navigation down the right, and it does not have any special navigation for Blog30 at the bottom. But this one does. And the only difference, because they're both posts, the only difference between the two is that I've divied this one in a clever way. So what I'm about to do is divvy this one in a clever way, just to give you an idea why you would pay for something like Divi. Right, let's have a look how we do that then. Well, Divi has a theme builder. So at the bottom of my menu, in fact, I'll close that and we'll go into it from here, which was where we were. We were at the menus. But if you scroll down in WordPress, you have a Divi option. And as I click there, you have all of the things that you can change from the back end of WordPress because you're using Divi. That might seem like nothing, but I can assure you that's a huge thing. I can change the logo from here. I can change the navigation, the gallery. I can use colours. And not only have I got all the things in here, all the things in there, but across the top, I also have navigation and I have subcategories, your pages, your categories, your settings. I've got builder settings. I've got layout settings. I can put ads on there. I can do SEO. I can look at my integrations. I can do updates. So that is enough to be getting on with, but it gets better than that. Because you now have, and this was what was added in the very latest version of Divi 4, you have a theme builder. Now you might think, well, you've already got a theme, Divi's the theme. Yes, but this is a theme builder on steroids. This will enable me to build pages that are unique, that I then marry up with content based on the meta of the content. Now that might sound tricky, but if we look at this one, I've made a custom a template here. So this one here, I do like drawing around, that one there, all right, is a custom one, and this one's a custom one, and this one's a custom one. They're all custom. But this one says specific category pages, ASRF 4050. This is what makes those pages or posts look different to all of the others. That's for the category ASRF 4050. This one is posts for specific categories, ASRF 4050. So you can get as granular as you would like to be. So we're going to have a look at this one and see what it looks like. You do all this with Lego bricks. You do not need to code. So I'm going to click on the pencil and we're going to go in and have a look at what I made. So it's loading it in. And as I move, everything lights up and you think, whoa, what's she doing? It's really simple. Think Russian dolls. You need to make a blue bit. That's a division of your page. And then within that, you need to make a green bit. That's where you define how many columns your content's got. And then within there, you add in the very dark grey bits, and they are your content. It's as simple as that. So over here, I have content. I have content. And that's all I've done. And as we go down, there is another blue bit, so another whole section of the page with a green bit inside it with the days in it. And then within each column, I've got the days. So the green bit holds the 5 columns and the content lives within the 5 columns. It's as simple as that. It's not tricky. Let me show you how easy it is to actually make that. I need a new template. I need a new template that will only apply to posts that are tagged Blog30. So add a new template. Posts with specific tags. No, not tags. No. It was categories, wasn't it? Posts in specific categories is what I need. And there is Blog30. By putting a tick in that, that's it. That's done the conditional logic. Only apply this to Blog30 posts. Create me a template. And it's done it. I then decide what I want that to actually look like. Now, what I'm going to do is make it even easier. And Divi is what is allowing you to do this. This custom body area over here that I've built is not a million miles away from what I want. It's not bad. It's obviously hooking into ASRF 4050, but everything else is spot on. And Divi allows you within a browser to right-click and copy. Go down to the body and paste. How good is that? It's not quite right, but I can then go in and edit it. And actually, surprisingly, there's a lot of this I can reuse. I've got my blue block, which is the division of the page. I've got the green one that's defining the columns. And then I've got this that's my post. It says your post title will appear here. I've got my sign up over there. Lovely. That's lime green because it's coming from a library. Then I've got the actual content of the post. Now, obviously, that's basically lorem ipsum at the moment. And over here, I don't particularly want that because that's RF 4050. So I'm going to delete that module from inside there. We don't need that. Down the bottom, I'm going to edit that one, but I could completely start again just to show you how easy it would be. The blue bit holds, in fact, I've got 2 blue bits here. The blue bit holds, first of all, the header. So that header there, I'm trying not to have it flying around. That header there is in its own blue bit. And then this bit down here is in its own blue bit. Just to show you how easy it is to create a 5-column layout. You hover over the blue plus at the bottom of that blue bit to add a new section. Then you decide which one you want. What do you want? So I'll go for full width on that one. No, actually I didn't want to do that, did I? Or did I? No, I don't think I did, you know. Don't think I did. Well, let's do that. So, regular. Right, that allows me to choose how many columns I want, and I can choose up to 6. I'm thinking these have probably got titles in them, so I'll go for 5, just to make it easy. That gives me 5 columns. There they are. I'll move down a bit and you can actually see them. Straight away it says what content do you want to put in that first one. You've got a whole range of content that you can put in it. All of this you can put in it. I actually just want text. So I just want a plain bit of text like that. Then it allows me to put my content in it. And I actually do just put it in there. So I would paste in the links in there. Then all I need to do is do exactly the same for the other ones like that. Again, okay over there. I'll actually put some content in this one so you can see how easy that would be. But let's say I'm going to put in here my blog posts. So let's say blog post 1, blog post day 1. And of course I would want that to be a bullet point, wouldn't I? And then the next one would be blog post day 2. And so forth. Obviously, I would put in the links to that, but just to show you, it comes straight through. You don't need to worry about the layout and the spacing and all the rest of it. And then you would just add 2 more text blocks and you are good to go. Simple as that. Now, I'm not going to make you sit through that. You've seen how easy it is. What I would intend to do for this one is just edit that one up there. That will do as a demonstration. So I'm going to lose that blue bit there, but show you that I can go into this. And day 1 wouldn't be that, would it? It wouldn't be that one either. But that's one of them. Day 1 was this one here. 30 days straight. What's all this about? So I would take that. That's the title of the blog post. Go in here. Click down here. Get rid of this. It's not day 1, is it? And just paste in that. Then, of course, I'd need the link to that. So I'd go back to that and copy that. But remember, you're not going to have to do this for all 30 posts. All I need to do is paste that in and I'm good to go. There we go. And I would then do that for all of the other posts. So far I'm up to 8 posts. Go get the title, go get the link, paste, done. Now, obviously, this at the moment up here is not right either, because that's not saying the right thing at all. Let me go in and edit that. This one would be other Blog30 updates. There we go. I know they're not quite right, but they will be when I've finished it. But that's enough to show you. You then open that up and you hit save. What you're saving at the moment is a definition of what that post will look like. Once I've saved it, I can come out. And remember, we are working on this area down in the lower left for category blog 30. I will save everything that I've done in there and I will go to my 30 days straight. And at the bottom of there, you can see there's nothing but the ability to comment, nothing else. But if I refresh the page, my other Blog30 updates now appear at the bottom. And there it says 30 days straight. And if I click on that, it will take me to it. And if I scroll down, so etc., etc. So obviously it's going to the same one. But if I go find another one, so let's click up here. Doesn't matter which one, as long as it's in that category. So that one there, it will automatically have that on the bottom and I'll be able to navigate. I can't tell you how difficult that would be with virtually every other theme. But certainly the standard themes that you buy on the basis of what they look like. Now, Genesis, that Deborah mentioned, is similar in concept to Divi in terms of it's a platform to enable you. It's a content creation platform, content management. But a standard theme that you would buy because you like the colour of it or you like the layout of it, no way is that going to enable you to do this kind of work that I've just done there. That's just one example with Divi. Obviously, a couple of weeks back, I did that blog audit with you. We went through it and we said this isn't right and that isn't right. So what I've done with that is I've put it in a list and I'm going to go through everything that I need to do and show you one of these each week. So that was tonight's. That in itself is nothing short of amazing. The next thing I'll probably do is the pages. We talked about the fact that if I were to do a search on my site and I went for a category of posts of, so let's say blog 30, because we do have a category of blog 30. If we look at the results, huge graphic, lots of text, huge graphic, text, huge. We don't want that. So I said to you, what we actually wanted was something that looked neat and tidy like that. So next time I'll show you how I built that with Divi. And again, no code. No code needed. And I'll reiterate again, although it's Mike's go in a minute, some of the things that took me ages to do are the most simple things. This look that you've got here, these posters up here are fine, those four, but a couple of them were white. There was no border around the top. And it took me like 6 hours of CSS hacking to get a border around the top. Now, you just do it in Divi. You just go in and say 1 pixel border grey, thank you. No code at all. That's why they've upped the price, Simon, considerably. They've done such a lot of work with this, and the things that it will enable you to do are amazing. Now, more on Blog30 shortly, but right now I'm going to hand over to Mike. So I need to go into there to tell you, now you're fascinated with this keynote file, aren't you? That he's going to be talking about text functions. Something that I love hearing you talk about text functions, because a lot of people think that Excel is for numbers, but the stuff you can do with text, and secondary, so many people use Excel for list management. And if you know the text functions, you'll be supercharging your way through it. So I will hand over to Mike, as promised. But I'll also need to get his levels right on his audio because I've shut him up. So he'll need a little bit more juice, won't you?
Yes.
Right.
Turn me up.
I think that'll do you, but you tell me if that's right.
We'll have to wait 30 seconds.
We'll have to wait 30 seconds and
myself.
let everybody tell us. How's Mike? It's all gone quiet now.
I could say Mary had a little lamb.
No, because they all come back with the next verse, and then we're there all night. Maybe they can't hear you at all. That wouldn't be any good, would it? Ooh, I better check that they can potentially hear you. Yes, I think they can hear you, you know. Say something again, Mike.
Mary had a little lamb.
In fact, you seem a little bit loud. Try that. Did Mary have another little...
Turn it down slightly.
Right, you turn down slightly, away you go.
Right. Okay. Text functions, yes. You stole my thunder.
Did I?
Yes, because I was going to talk about people thinking Excel is just for numbers when it's not.
Sorry.
That's okay. So, Excel. Excel can be used for many things, as you know, including list management. Where have we heard that before? Yes. Let's be serious. Do we need to be serious? No.
Yes.
No. Yeah, I'm going to talk today about some of the text functions that are available in Excel. And I'm going to start with the proper function. Deborah, you use text functions all the time to clean up text. There are other ways to clean up text, which I will show you with Power Query. But I'll leave that for another day, I think. But certainly text functions can be used a lot for cleaning up text. And one of the things, as I said, is I'll show you how to use the proper function. There's 3 particular functions, proper, lower and upper. And what they will do is they will convert your text into uppercase, lowercase or proper case. And for anyone who doesn't know what proper case is, it is where the first letter of each word in the cell is capitalized. So here's an example, and I have been given this list of names, and I need to convert that list into proper case. Now, of course, I could retype all the names, but that would take me a long time, particularly as those names look Russian to me. So they're not, for me, going to be easy to retype. They might be for somebody who's from that part of the world, but not for me. So to convert this list of names into proper case, I go to a blank cell, and I would usually do it the cell to the right, and use the equals proper function. And as with any other function, it's equals proper, open brackets, and then the cell that contains the text that you want to convert. Press enter, and it's converted the text into proper case. So we have the proper function, we have the upper function, and we have the lower function. They all work in the same way, and they will all give us a proper upper or lower version of the text. So if I copy that down, we now have what we want. What I then want to do is copy that text in column B and paste it into column A. But it's not just a case of copy and paste, because we now get errors. What I need to do is copy the data that's in column B, but for pasting into column A, click the drop down arrow next below paste and use paste values. Excuse me. So that's the one I want. Then I can delete those. What paste values does is it pastes the results of the formulas, not paste the formulas themselves. But what I have is I have the text entries that I want converted into a proper case. The next functions we'll look at are the left and right functions. So let's say I want to get the first 3 characters of the telephone number. I know I could just type them in, 733, 464, etc, etc. But it's going to be quicker if I could do a formula and copy that formula down. And as I said, what I'm after here is the first 3 characters of the telephone number. Thank you, Simon. So I can use there the left function, equals left, open brackets, and I require 2 parameters. The first parameter is the text, or the cell that contains the text, which in this case is D2. Then we have a comma, which acts as the separator of the parameters, and then we have the number of characters that we want, which in this example is 3. And that will give me the last 4 digits, except that shouldn't be in that cell. That should be in column E. So let me just cut that, paste that in there, and that's better, and copy that down. So that's giving me the first 3 characters. And if I wanted the last 4 digits, works in a very similar way. That would use the right function. Equals right, open brackets, select the cell that contains the text, comma, number of characters, 4. You could use a formula to calculate how many characters. In my examples, it's a static number, but it doesn't have to be a static number, that second parameter. But I'll copy that down, and that gives us what we want, the last 4 digits. So that's the left and the right function. I'm sure you can come up with uses for your own spreadsheets. Simon, you're making up a function there. I like it. Okay. Right. I can't think of a suitable reply at the moment, so I won't. Another function that's very useful is the mid function. And that allows you to extract part of a cell entry from within the middle of the text. So if I wanted to extract the 758 and the brackets, then I can use the mid function. There's another way of doing this. You could use the text to columns function, and that would split the data up where the space is, for example. But another option is to use the mid function. So equals mid, open brackets, and this one takes 3 parameters. I'll answer that question in a second, Kim. 3 parameters. So the first parameter is the text, which is, as I've said, the cell where your data is. So that is D2. Comma. The second parameter is the start number. So in this example, 733 space bracket or parentheses. So we're starting at the 5th character. This will only work properly when you have consistency, as we do. All the phone numbers are the same format. unless you use some kind of formula to work out the starting number. Then another comma, and then the number of characters. So how many characters do we want to extract? And in this case, that's also 5, because it's opening bracket, 3 numbers, and closing bracket. And then close the brackets and enter. Now, how am I copying down? 2 ways to copy down. Obviously, copy and paste, but I can do it in several ways. I can point my mouse at the bottom corner of E2. Mouse pointer changes to a little black cross, and I can drag the mouse down. That's one way. The other way is to point my mouse at the same spot and double click. And what that will do is it will copy that formula all the way down until it hits a blank cell. So hopefully that answers your question, Kim. I'm assuming that's what you were referring to. So point to the bottom corner, get the black cross, double click. Okay, next function. The next function is the len function. And it's actually short for length, which number of characters. So I have here a list of employee names and usernames, and I want to know how many characters are in the username. Maybe the usernames need to be checked for compatibility with a new system where we're not allowed to use usernames more than 12 characters. So I go to C2, equals len, open brackets, select the cell that contains the text, close brackets, enter. And that tells me there's 12 characters in that cell. That includes spaces. So I'll copy that down, and there we go. I want to know if the username is compatible with a new system. So anything that is over 12 characters will not be compatible. Now I could say if C2 is greater than 12, then put no, otherwise put yes. I think we did logic functions last week. So that's one way to do it, if C2 is greater than 12. But another way to do it is to say if len B2 is greater than 12. So if the number of characters in B2 is greater than 12, that then means you don't actually need column C. Because if you've got formulas in column C and formulas in column D, you've doubled the number of formulas in your spreadsheet. Copy that down, and we get 2 no's where it's higher than 12. Okay, guess what I'm going to do? I'm going to use my new tool. There we go. So, DemoPro. It's a good find by you, that.
Thank you.
Yeah, as Elaine said earlier, I have one on Windows that I use all the time at work, and I'm lost without it. So it's an excellent find by you, that one. I just have to remember the keystrokes because they're slightly different to the ones that I use at work. All right, so yes, that is the len function. Give you another example of the len function, actually. What I have here is a list of URLs. These are real URLs. They are blog posts on my Excel Trainer website, and I want to extract just the blog post name. Now, the blog post name is the bit after the http://exceltrainer.co.uk. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the write function, the one that we looked at before. The text that I want it to look at is column A, but the number of characters needs to be calculated, because I can't just say give me the 20 most characters from the cell in column A, because it's a different number each time. So what I'm going to do to calculate the number of characters is to say, calculate the number of characters in A2 and subtract from it 29. Now, why 29? Because http://theexceltrainer.co.uk/ is 29 characters. Take it from me, I did count them when I set this spreadsheet up. Now that should actually now be an HTTPS. I'm not going to change them all, but if I did, I'd then have to change that to 30. So that is two functions within the one cell, the len function and the write function. And if I copy that down, there you go. That gives me the blog post name extracted from the URL. Okay, so Simon, you did something similar using formulas in conditional formatting. Yeah, thought that was in Google Spreadsheets. You can do it in Excel as well. I think I did it about 2 or 3 weeks ago on here. We did conditional formatting, and yeah, you can do formulas in conditional formatting. Okay, moving on, concatenate. And concatenate is joining together. So here I want to join together the first name and surname. So I would put equals concatenate. By the way, here's a little tip for you. When you highlight the name of the function, either double click it or press the tab key. And that way it'll save you typing it all in, which is very handy for a long function who's, like concatenate. But equals concatenate, open brackets. And I want to combine together A2, then a comma, and B2. And you can have as many elements as you like in there. Now, obviously, what that's done is it's joined together what's in A and B. And I want a space between them. So I will go back to the formula and add in another parameter. And I can't just press the space bar. Because it's an actual character, then it needs to go in double quotes like that. So I'm saying join together what's in A2 to a space to what's in B2. Like that. And now, interesting point, Kim. I just double clicked on the bottom corner there and nothing happened. Why? Well, the answer is because of that blank column there. So in this case, I'd have to manually drag down or delete column F. Here I want to combine the city, state and zip and have that in one cell with dashes between. So I can say equals concatenate. By the way, you'll notice there's a little yellow warning symbol next to concatenate. That's because Microsoft have deprecated that function. And it still works. And they've kept it in for backwards compatibility and you can still use it, but they've replaced it with concat. So it's been deprecated, or in MacBites language, sunsetted. I think Jonathan will like that one. But anyway, equals concatenate. And I want to say C2, comma. And then I said I wanted a hyphen between each bit. So that goes in double quotes, comma. D2, comma. Hyphen in double quotes, comma. E2. I'll just pause, just let you have a look at that. There we go. And now I can copy that one down. Okay, concat. Concat is a replacement for concatenate, but it can work in another way as well. So if I put in here equals concat, open brackets, I can say A2, comma, space, comma, B2, comma, space, comma, C2. So it does work exactly the same, but it does have another set of options as well. So if I put equals concat, open brackets, you can actually specify a whole range, which you can't do with concatenate. So concat can be used as a direct replacement for concatenate, or it can be used with a range. So I've just selected D2 to F2 there. So if you wanted to combine multiple cells without any separator, then concat is a nice, easy way to do it. Otherwise, you'd have to do equals concat D2 comma E2 comma F2. They are a teacher's best friend, Neil. I love them. Next one, ampersand. Ampersand is the same as concatenate, but it lets you combine cells together. So if I wanted to combine A, B, and C, I'll put equals A2 ampersand space in double quotes ampersand B2 ampersand space in double quotes ampersand C2. You don't have to leave a space before and after the ampersand. I've only done that to make it easier to read. Any actual spaces do have to go in double quotes. So there we go. That, of course, should have been over in the name column, and then I can copy that down. It's up to you whether you use concatenate, concat, or the ampersand. Little history lesson. The ampersand came first, and then at some point Microsoft created the concat function, well, concatenate function. Can it be a discontiguous range? That's a good point. So equals concat. I suppose if I tried something like that. Yeah, but if you're using a discontinuous range, Neil, then it's just like the original concatenate, really, where it's just separated with commas. Unless you meant something like, say, A2 to B2, comma, F2, in which case, yes, it can. Why ampersand instead of concat? It's up to you. It doesn't really matter, Deborah. It's personal preference, exactly. Okay, couple more functions for you. Text join. Text join is actually quite a new function. They brought this in 2016, and it's available in 2016 and later on Windows and Mac. And it's also available in the online version of Excel. So equals text join, open brackets. And what this does is it lets you specify a range with a single delimiter. So let's say I wanted to have all of the data between A and F separated with commas. Instead of having to say equals concat A2 comma in quotes, B2 comma in quotes, C2 comma in quotes, etc., I can just specify the delimiter, then a comma, and that delimiter can be anything. It could be a space, it could be a comma, it could be a dash, it could be anything. Then you've got a true or false to decide whether to ignore or include empty cells. So if you've got any blank cells, does it ignore them, or does it actually include them as a blank character in effect? And then you specify the range. So what I'm saying there is join together what's in A2 to F2, and each cell will be separated by a comma. Like that. It's a good way to create comma separated values. I mean, I know you just save the file as a comma separated file, but here's an alternative. Okay, couple more things to show you. Here I have got a formula, and this formula, if we look at it up here, I am loving that app whose name has temporarily gone out of my mind. DemoPro, yes. I am loving that app. That formula is creating the text in A12. So let me talk you through it. It's taking what's in B5, which is the 60, and in there's actually a formula, which I'm not going to go into at the moment, but it's a formula that's calculating, no, that's not a formula, that's a fixed value, but that's how many months the loan is. Then it's joining that to the text payments of, and that's giving us that. And then it's picking up B9, and B9 is the monthly cost. That's where the formula is. So there's a formula in there that's calculating the monthly payment. It's the PMT function that it's using in there to give us the monthly payment. But what you'll notice is that it's not brought across the formatting. So whenever you use a cell reference in a formula, and that cell reference happens to have formatting on it, that formatting is ignored, hence the 38.24444. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to amend this formula, and I'm going to add in the text function. So equals text, open brackets, B9, comma, $0, full stop, 00. And what that basically does, that text function, you can use that text function on its own, but I'm using it within another formula, is it says pick up what's in B9, convert it to text so it can be stored within another text entry, and the formatting to use is that. So that's why we've now got the $sign. Let me replace that by a pound sign, and now we've got a pound sign. Okay, so I'm just going to pause so that you can have a look at that formula. And the other one to show you is very, very similar. The first payment is due on 41,830. Where's it getting that from? Well, it's getting that from B7, and B7 is this date. Because a date, the way dates work in Excel is that Excel has a base date that it recognises, which is the 1st of January 1900. That's the first date Excel recognises, and that is day number 1. So 41830 is actually the number of days from the 1st of January 1900 that the 10th of July 2014 is. It's called a serial number. It's something I'm going to be covering, I think, next week, talking about dates. But again, we've referenced B7 in a formula. Although it looks like a date in that cell, it's actually a number formatted as a date, and that's what it's pulled across here. So if I actually want that to show as a date, I need to go and edit the formula, and I need to put text, open brackets, B7, comma, and then in quotes, whatever date format I want to use, which in this case, I'll use that. And that's what we get. If I go and change that to 2 M's, I get that. If I change it to 4 M's and 2 Y's, I get that. Okay, so that brings us to the end of the lesson on text functions. We've looked at upper, lower and proper. We've looked at left and right. We've looked at mid. We've looked at len, we've looked at concatenate and concat and the ampersand, text to join and text. So I hope that's been useful. Do we have questions? I think we have, which I have answered as we have gone through. But I will just pause there because I know that we are about 20 to 30 seconds behind, and by the time people get to the end on the broadcast, they may have questions. You're very welcome, Deborah. Thank you. So if anyone wants to put any questions in, stick them in.
I can always hand back to you.
Thank you, Kim. You can, can't you?
I can.
Yeah. So easy now.
The power, yeah, but you see, I can also cut you right off.
You can. Right.
Okay.
Okay, let's hand back to you and turn me down. Thanks,
Right.
Neil.
There you go. You've gone. Right. Let me get my screen back. There we go. Okay. So that was rather good, wasn't it? As he said, next time dates. He's forgotten what he's doing, but it's date functions. It's dates. Because I always confuse you with dates. Anyway, we're going to carry on with the Blog30. Now I'm 8 days in. It was like, can I use Scrivener alone to manage this? And the answer was yes, I could. And I'll show you all of the stuff in there. And we're actually going to go through and fill in some of the metadata for some of it. I've left it to share it with you. But I came to the conclusion that one of the problems is you're trying to fit something into your daily routine that you're not used to doing. And it's become a bit of a thing of like, oh, I'd love to do a blog post about X. And then I look at it and I'm thinking, I haven't got time today. So that's just like, oh, well, I'll do that one. So when I've got time. If you don't schedule it, you will never have time. And that's the one thing. Scrivener doesn't have any kind of scheduling capabilities. You would have to choose the days to do something and then remember to go in and actually do it. I run my life through Notion, so it would make sense to add it to that. So let's have a look what that looks like. Well, the first thing is you have the ability to use templates in Notion. This is good news if there is a template that is absolutely perfect for you. So the page we're looking at is actually the template gallery of Notion. Now you can get a free startup thing for Notion, and there's a link somewhere, Mike, to an affiliate thing. And these templates that you see here are all completely free of charge. So you could test it out. But what I wanted to do was start on the basis of, right, what's in here that I could potentially use? You'll see there's lots of stuff for students, and they're categorised, so designers, product managers, etc. So as I carried on going down, I came across team tools, and there is an editorial calendar. So that was the first one. So let's open that in another window. And as I carried on going, there was another one as well in the database ones, and that says editorial calendar templates. So are they one and the same before we go any further? So that one says editorial calendar created by Notion. And this one, that's also editorial calendar created by Notion. So I think they've just called that something different in two places. So I've been through the entire template gallery, and there's only this one editorial calendar to have a look at. So you click on that bit there and you are taken into it. What I would suggest you do with any template that you're thinking of using is have a look what's actually in it. Now this one, it's got the calendar view and there's not much going on. I would suspect what's happened here is this template was uploaded a good few months ago. So I would, and that means you'd need to go backwards. So you would need to do this business and then try and find some content. Oh, there was some content. So it clearly went up around September time. But it could have been September 3 years ago, in which case I'm not going to keep clicking backwards and forwards. So always check in the drop down, are there any other views that would make life a whole lot easier? And there are. So you can see from there they're scheduled for early September. Now, is this something that you could use? Is this something I could use? And my first thought was, I'll create a database that tracks Blog30. in terms of status and what's in it, titles, when it's scheduled to go, anything that I might find useful. I could even estimate how long I think it would take to write the post. And what that would enable me to do is refer to the rest of my life that's in Notion and work out whether writing that magnum opus of 3,000 words is a good idea on that particular day. Too long didn't read version, no it wasn't. So that was what I thought. And then I thought, hang on a moment, really think about this. If you choose to go down this editorial calendar route, really have a look at what they've done with it. It's not just for your blog. If you look across at the tags, they've put all of their content in the editorial calendar, even if it's a podcast. So you've got blog posts, you've got interviews, you've got podcasts. So there's actually quite a lot. What they're intending is that you maybe run all of your content creation through it. Which was the point I thought, back to the drawing board. Just to show you the other two things in here, there's a board by status. So some are at the idea stage, some are scheduled, none in progress, one's complete. And there's also archived as well, which is a hidden column, so you don't need to actually see it. There's also there by author, so if you're working with colleagues, it's a good way to see who's working on what at what stage. But I took the decision based on that table view, which showed me everything that was in there, that I already had something that I could potentially use. But just in case I wanted to go back to this and refer to it again, how you get that into your version of Notion is just to hit the duplicate button at the top. And it says it's copying to Giles Thomas, which is our work environment, the one we share. And it's down there in the private area where I can now go in and have a play around with it. If I wanted to go in and do some editing in here, so let's have a look at this over here. When I clicked on that before, you couldn't see the options, but now I can see there is only the 3 options. But in here, there's 5. So now you can actually edit that, and you can always go back and get a clean version because it's in the template library. Or you could duplicate it in here and keep one copy for reference. But the reason that I decided not to follow what was in there was, this is actually my live Notion. This is not a demo thing. This is for real. So we've seen it before, but these are my weekly worksheets of what's happening this week. That's the MacBite shows, the next MacBite show, the after hours shows, the Brooklyn shows. This is my private stuff that I'm working on here. No, these are the shared ones. These are the shared ones. These are the things that we work on together. And they tend to be grouped into MacBites, live sessions, which is business training, Munich, which is a site we run in relation to the Munich air crash, and Catenians, which is our social group. But I've also got these private areas down here. So I'm going to move that editorial one into the sandbox. So we can see these are real. These are my real areas. This is where I live with it. The sandbox is, as the name implies, it's where I play around and test things out. The engine room is where my main tables are that I reference from everywhere else. So it's not pretty. That's because I never go in there and look at it. They're all pulled through to somewhere else. But I've also got these other bits. PD, so you're finding out things now you did not know. What is CJ? CJ is control journal. It's how I keep control of everything. I'm going to come back to CCS, but PD is personal development. Course creation is obvious, it's course creation. Then I've got special projects, reference, and unwork. Unwork is fun stuff. So books and TV programs, if I ever watch anything, which is like once every blue moon. But CCS. CCS is content creation system. And I already had this table. This is some stuff that we had a look around and decided, maybe no. At the time, we configured Notion. So I could put all these ideas in here. You can see the status is idea on most of them. Some of them are even in progress. One of them's published. Oh my word, do you love to learn? That one's going out later today when the basics go bad. So that's completed. So we've pretty much got a lot of items in there. The thing is, they were put in there, and you can see they have a review date of September, and they haven't actually been reviewed. That's because we moved on to other stuff, and I never really finished this. My first thought was, oh, I'm not having a database with a load of stuff in it that's at the idea stage. So it's ideation and not much else happening at the moment. I am not putting 30 posts in there for Blog30 and sticking them on the top of that lot, because it'll get messy and I'll lose stuff and I'll get bombarded and it'll all die in a ditch somewhere. But then I thought, you know what, have more confidence in yourself. You can do this. And what I actually did, just to see if it was possible, you know, is this a viable thing that I could do, is I thought, right, what if I put some stuff in here for Blog30, like these down here, and start working on them. And in this view, there's a problem, because there's too much other stuff. There's too much noise. I can't concentrate on Blog30 in there. And that was why it was appealing to create a whole new section with a whole new database. But I thought, do you know what? It's content. So the trick is in here, even when you have, and I'll be honest, a load of rubbish in here you have not even considered yet, you can still do it. You just need to create a view that will work for you. So I'd already created a lot of views. I created a new one, Blog30, and I made it into a board. And that's fantastic. That just works. I've got all the ideas for Blog30 down there, so there's actually quite a few. I've got the stuff that I'm working on. I haven't got anything scheduled at the moment because I tend just to publish it, but I've got one completed and ready to go, and I've got this one here that was published. Now, I haven't put everything in here. That's why there's only one that was published, because I thought this isn't actually perfect yet. In fact, it's a long way off. It's a long way off from being perfect. One of the things that was missing, so shout out if you can think of anything that's missing, but one of the things that struck me that was missing was there's no publish date on it. There's a review date, but there's no publish date. You'll notice on this card, there is a date. It doesn't tell you what it is. So that's not actually very useful. But you can, in here, go in and decide in your properties what's actually showing. And what's showing in there is the review date. But I don't even have a published date in there. It would be a good idea, because the obvious thing I'm needing to do with that is publish it. So I won't put published, I'll put published date, and that way it would work whether it was published or whether it was intending to be published. So I'll make that a date. Now the issue I've got is I've got these two dates here. I can toggle that one on. Now at the moment there's nothing in any of them, but this one's going today. So in the publish date, we can put today. That's today's blog post. I'd probably want that much higher up, probably there. I think I was ambitious putting a sign to, because there's mainly my stuff in it, but you never know. Right, so I've put a date into it. But when I go back in here, that's not good on so many different levels, because now I've got two dates and there isn't a title on either of them, and one of them isn't in the right format. Never fear, it can all be fixed. All right, in the publish date, I would need to click on it. I would need to go down to date formats and time zones and change that to be day, month, year. That solves the first problem. The second problem, which you can't tell which date is which, you'd either have to do it that your publish date was always before the other date, or remember, or just say to yourself, do you know what? I don't really need that review date. Why do I need to see it? I only need to be reminded of it when I'm reviewing it. So actually, I could go in there, into this view up here, into properties, and take away, don't show me that, I'm not interested. In fact, because all of this is Blog30, I don't even need to see that. So I can save the precious real estate on the screen for things that really matter, which I will probably add as I go along. Another thing I'd probably do is parked is things that, you know, I'm not really concentrating on right now. So I would probably move that out of the way down there. In fact, I might even hide it in this view, and I can do that if I want. Go in there and choose hide. And what happens is you get hidden columns, parked and no status. So now I can focus on the stuff that's live and I'm working on it. As I say, it's not complete yet. In terms of, as I'm sure as I start working with it, I'll think, oh, it would be handy if I could think of this, could think of that. So if we look at this love to learn one here, I am now frantically thinking as I'm looking at it, where did I put it? But I do believe in my work in progress folder, I have the image for that. I hope, needless to say, no. Oh joy. Okay, so I put that somewhere else, but somewhere on my system. So I'll go find it. I'll put Who'da Spot on the other screen and I will find it. Is the post image thumbnail that I would use for that, which I can repurpose in here. So I'm having a think about this and what it would be called. That one would be called Love to Learn. So let's have a look where that disappeared to. There it is. So one thing I might want to add to it, make it a little bit more visual, I look at that, is add an image. So add a cover. You can put cover image if you like, go into there and files and media. And then what I'm doing off on this screen, I actually have the file, hover over there and it will actually upload that. That gives me the opportunity to add it to the board. So at the moment, not seeing it, but it would be nice if I could see the cover. So let's toggle that cover on. There you go, and you can see it there. Now, what I can do with that, I do believe, let's open up that. Let's go in here, and is it in there or is it in the other one? No, I think it's back at this level. I want to see that bigger. That's not where it is, it's up here. Was it properties or was it somewhere else? I don't do this often. Here we go. Card preview, it's set to none. We set the card preview to cover, which is the one that we've added, then you see it large. That would look really good at the end of Blog30, wouldn't it? I'd have all the covers on there. So that's probably what I'll go back and do with that. But really just to show you, this is embryonic. And the point I really want to make with it is, before we deep dive Scrivener, because we all love Scrivener, don't we? We've got exciting things in Scrivener today. Oh, but I'm spoiled. I'm giving away the punchline. Mustn't do that. This system was built about September, August time. I reckon it was August when we were laughably on holiday. Our holidays always turn into work extravaganzas. But we were on holiday and we kicked some ideas around and we half built a system. It would have been very easy to decide I'll start from scratch. But I'm sure at some point I would have decided that I'd gone wrong and I should merge it with this. The decision I had to make was, do it now. And don't be afraid that the half-built system will hamper you doing what you need to do. Just dive in and use it. Don't wait for it to be perfect. Just build something like I've built this view where you can focus on the area you're working on right now. And as you get ideas with this project, like I'll add a cover to it, you can add that in and then that's available in all of the others. So if I go back to that all view where it was just all over the place, my cover option is there now and I would be able to backfill all of the other covers or forward fill them as I add them in. So it's not Notion. Where Notion's power is it doesn't have to be perfect for it to be usable. In no way does it. I can't think of another application where I would have dared to put Blog30 in there on top of content that was already in there, moulding slightly, a little bit dusty, shall we say. But it's working. It's working very well. Now, if you're wondering why I've got a little thumbnail on there, that will be because in the properties, I've also got down here cover turned on, but I don't need that if I use the cover as the card preview. And now it's all neat and tidy. I like to see it with the least information, but that one was actually published. The published date was empty, but it was published yesterday, I think. Either yesterday or the day before. I'll fix that later, but there you go. I will just now know that that is the published date. So what I'll be doing over the course of Blog30 is refining that. I think I'll probably change the columns on it as well, because it quite freaks me out. There's so many ideas. I might categorise the ideas somehow. But I will be developing that as I go, and I will share it with you as I go. But we will lose that. We will, can we lose Notion? We can lose Notion, I think. Yes, we can lose that, because that's where we're heading. So, where are we? We are in here. So, the idea for Blog30 came from showing you Scrivener. Scrivener's not something that you can do in a 20-minute session. You could speak in 20-minute chunks for the best part of 5 years. But nobody wants me rabbiting on about that. So what I've decided to do was do it in chunks, and that's what I'm doing now. So last week we took the first tentative look at compiling. This week we're taking that a little bit further. But we're also doing other things with it as well. So one thing I'm definitely going to need is that file there. So I'm going to start consolidating these files. I might as well put them on the desktop where I can find them. I've got thumbnail images for every image that I've done. So if I look for Blog30 in a folder, oh, that's good. There's my post images. So these are all the images that I used for the blog posts. There they all are. So we'll be using those in here, but these are the ones I would also use in Notion. So I'll backfill later and you'll see them next time in Notion. But for the moment, we'll leave them where they are. We're going to use them in a second. I wanted to show you how we're doing with the file. How has the file grown to support this project? Well, I haven't got anything more in the inbox. I've been really good and I've been processing stuff. In fact, these ideas from After Hours 45 have been processed as well. So the ideas we had in there, if you remember, these were the ideas. I'm going to have to start scheduling some of these, aren't I? I have put in the actual blog bit here. So you can see down here we've got 7 top tips for Scrivener and all of these. There they are. So I've taken the ideas from here and I've actually promoted them to be a folder of their own where work is going to get done. So the main changes in here are adding those, but there was a couple of things I wanted to show you. These are very tiny tips that I probably wouldn't even have mentioned. They're not worth a demonstration of their own, but they're quite handy. You may have noticed there is an odd folder there. What is that? It's displayed differently. Now, it is, when you click on it, just the same as anything else, and it could have content in just the same as anything else. But it's not displaying the same as everything else, is it? There is a feature in here. So let me add in another one, and I'll just call that XXX. Not that it's got X-rated content in it, but you never know. And that's just displayed the same as everything else. All right? It probably wasn't the best idea I had putting it next to the other one. Let's put it between those two. And you can see it's displayed exactly the same as these, only this one is an item, it's not a folder. You could change it to a folder, convert to folder. But what I actually want to do with it is have it display like that, because that looks like a separator. These are the ones that are published. These are the ones that are not. These are the ones that are work in progress. So what I did was I added just a standard document or a scrivening, whatever you want to call it, and I changed the property show as binder separator. And that is what makes it show with those borders on it there. Now, you can give it a proper name if you want. So if you wanted that as a separator, you can actually type text in it. You can even put work in progress or something like that. So it means something. All I did with that one was put dash, dash, dash in it. Because to me, it's more of a separator if it looks like that. That just visually to me looks more like a separator. But just a tiny little tip that you can do that. So for me, let's get rid of that one. That's separating the ones that are complete from the ones that aren't. But you should notice something at this point. Hope you're all awake because you're not posting anything. Right, in there, these have no status on them. If we go up to Blog30 and go into the outline view, this was where we were tracking progress, if you remember. We had things as we had labels for complete and then status of published. We also had date in there. So we created a custom property of date published. There it is. And I have not filled that in. I've not filled that in deliberately. Just to show you, this file will only really give you full benefit if you do keep it up to date. And not only that, not just keep it up to date in relation to the things that were there at the beginning, but a file like this should grow with you. You should find yourself putting extra stuff into it. But at an absolute minimum, you need to keep it up to date. So those three are actually complete. And not only are they written and complete, but the status is actually they're published as well. So that's done that. I could also put the date in here. That one was the 5th. So I can do that. One thing to be aware of is, if you go into your actual custom properties where you created them, custom metadata in the date published, then that calendar is active. And you can also put a time in if you want. That one was the 6th. So I'll put the 6th. Don't want to get rid of it. Just want to do that. So although there is a calendar there and it will take you into it, I can't get that to actually do it. I'm wondering if it needs some magic in the way of extra keys, but I can't actually seem to get the date coming up there. One last go with that one. No, it's not having it. So if you're happy to type it, then you can. If not, then go into your custom metadata and put it in there. So that one was yesterday's. Right, so we've got our meta up to date now. But what I decided to do was take it a bit further, because sometimes it's all very well putting stuff in here that were like ideas. So Charles mentioned OBS. And I thought, right, okay, OBS, I'll just put OBS. But if you look back at what I actually had in here, I had more information in it. It actually said who gave me the ideas, where the ideas came from. Neil was on a roll that night. In fact, what were you on, Neil? But that actually tells me more. But I can't process and write all of this stuff from that one note. So what I needed was a way to capture all of the information from there as I added it down here. So I've got my exit plan one, hadn't I? I'm sure I put a title in for that. Tell me I did. There you go. Your app died, what's your exit strategy? There we go. So exit plans became your app died, what's your exit strategy? And I wanted to marry up that to the fact that it was Deb's idea. Now, I remember when I started talking about this, and I said, when I first started using Scrivener, I was like, here's the manual, 900 pages. I'm going to read it. Excellent. I know everything now. I haven't got a use for keywords. And I stopped dead. And it was like, I can't use this until I find a use for keywords. I didn't have a use for keywords. It was as simple as that. Once I got over myself and thought to myself, right, okay, just ignore it. Until you have a use for it. Guess what? I've got a use for it now. I want to indicate that the 7 top tips for Scrivener was Deb's idea. So as I was working through it, I thought I'd done this. Here we go. Your app died, what's your exit strategy? Keyword, Deb. Top tips, Deb. Formula in Notion, Deborah. OBS, Charles. So now my keywords are actually useful. One of the problems with keywords was, though, if you have them all at the same level, it's saying Charles won't mean anything. What about Charles? Is it a character in a play? You know, what's going on? But the keywords themselves, you can actually bring up the keywords in a little window like that. You can group and nest them. So I called it source. In fact, I could change that to idea source. And then it's completely obvious. And I can change these colours to anything I want. It actually does a beautiful rainbow as it's working. It did those. I've not changed them yet. But Charles, tell me what your favourite colour is. And I'll change it to match. So there you go, Charles. Tell me what your favourite colour is. It's really straightforward. You just need to double click on there. And every time it opens on the other window, And then if I miss it, I've got to try and drag it back. There we go. So that's opened up on there. So give me a colour. Give me a colour and I'll change it. But it's very simple to change it. You just need to click any one of these. So when he makes his mind up, that's what we'll do. Just change it to any one of those. And I went through and I put that against every one of these. So I'll move that out of the way. So Capto, the rest were Neil, wasn't it? Every one of these was Neil. So as I'm going through, you can see over here, that's where they are. Neil wants red. Right, Charles wants green. Okay, let's bring them back on and do that. So let's change them round. So let's have a look. Charles wants green. Okay, this green down here, a nice lime green, do you think? Do you think that kind of green? What's that one? A little bit deeper, that one, isn't it? There's a muted green there. That's nice. I'm liking that. I'm liking that. Or a very dark green. No, too dark, too dark. Right, and Neil wants red. So do I need to select that or not? Oh, that's good. Sometimes you have to double click on the colour chip to get this to marry up to it, but you don't in here. You just select. And if Deb or Deborah wants to give me a shout with a colour, feel free. Right, so that's how you change that, and they are all done. And they are available down there, as I was saying. You will see those all over the place if you want to. So if we go back up to the top level, and we've got this view, but we now go into card view, so we can see them. There is an option in the views to even add them in here if you want to. You can have them all over. Good night, Simon. Catch up later. You can add them in there if you want. Now, Deb wants magenta. Okay, let's go back. Let's go back and find one. Right. The shortcut key I'm using for that is Command Shift and K for keywords. And Deb wants magenta. Okay. Let's bring that back. There we go. Is that a bit brown? That bit brown? How about that one? There we go. Right, so that was just a couple of things in terms of actually using it and keeping things up to date. But the thing that will make the biggest difference by far, so I'm going to go back into this view, I think, like that. Or am I? I will. I'll do that. There you go. I was making some... That doesn't look right, but never mind. I think that was us playing around last weekend. Right, we've got a synopsis. We can type a summary in there. We've got notes. We can type in whatever we want. It's really easy to miss in Scrivener, some of the magic. There's a tiny icon over there. That one there. And when you hover, it says toggle show image. Wonder what that means. You click it. Nothing happens. It just says drop an image. Well, we know that that was the first one, 30 days straight. And I happen to have an image, which I can drop in there. And now I've got an image assigned to that blog post. Let me go on to this one, help my Finder icons. And this time I'm going to drag and drop it in. Disclosure triangle's missing. Without even switching first. So it looks like I'm going to drop it into the synopsis. But actually, it flips it round automatically. So all you really need to do is to go through these. So I think that was Keep Calm and Train On, wasn't it, that one? That was Inbox. That's a good one. If you only read one, I'd read that one. Oh, my extension post. Did I put a picture of the extension? I think I used it as the poster here. So let's have a look at that. Extension built. There it was. That's the extension in the background. I should have put better pictures up. Might make a note. Put better pictures up on that post. Right, the smile list and one more and we're done. And then I'll show you how I would actually use them. The perils of perennial updates. And did I have a love to learn? Love to learn, love to learn. Yep, I did. There we go. Now, it's all very well in there having them. The art's quite nice. Yeah, pretty to see, pretty to see. But so much better when I've done the whole thing and I go into the card view. Because now I've got the images on there. I could actually do with seeing 3 cards, couldn't I? That's my timeline view. I don't want that. I want that there. We take that down a smidgen. We can get 3 in. Awesome. You've seen something similar to that before, and that was the MacBites shows. I have the graphics in there for the MacBite shows. So these look very plain and boring index cards, but if you add an image, you get the option to have them displayed like that, which is just nice. You see it pulling together. You see it pulling together. Right, but that's all very well. That's in terms of the management of it. But now I've got these lovely blog posts. I have published them. We went through that last week. Let's do this one here because there's lots of stuff in there. We've got the intro, we've got the 5 things, and we've got each individual one here. So let's take that one because it's tricky. And I showed last week that was how we started with, I'm just going into that so we can actually see the content. That was the one that we compiled, and we compiled it out to be a blog post, and then I used that to publish it. But what if I would like to give somebody a PDF of that? Or I would like to use it maybe as a lead magnet. I'm assuming you all know what a lead magnet is. It's when a site that wants you to sign up gives you a freebie to sign up. So I may have written something and I may have published it as a blog post. Maybe I've just created it in here. And I'd like to create a version of it that's really visual. So a nice PDF with I could even put a video in a PDF, so I just want a really nice PDF. Or maybe I want to create a book from a series of blog posts. So at the end of Blog30, I could turn the whole thing into a book. Oh, this is sounding good, isn't it? But of course, to do that, you need to get the content out of here in a useful way. So I'm going to extend what we know about compiling and compile to different formats this week. Starts to get tricky, but we're going to do it in chunks, so it's not going to be overwhelming. So file, compile, and it takes us into this thing that we looked at last week. So quick overview of this. We had this area over here, which was the actual formats. But before we even got there, you needed to go up here and look at the compile for. Because what you select up here determines what's available down here. It would make no sense at all if I'd chosen HTML up there to come down to here and see paperback, because HTML doesn't work like that. So that would make no sense at all. So first of all, you make your selection up there. That will determine what you see in your formats. Then, in this bit here, section layouts, this is where you match up your content and decide what it looks like. That's the trickiest bit, to be honest. And we are going to look at that today. And the other bit is this bit over here, which is, this is actually, again, quite detailed. On one level, it can be very simple. Compile the current selection. That's it. Ticks boxes. Fine. But across the top here, if I get rid of that lot, you can see that there's a whole range of tabs up there, and they all do different things. So it can actually, in here, as I click through, there's a lot of information in there. So this is actually the most complicated bit of Scrivener. But you're already there. You know you are. You know that you need to. Number 1. Choose what to compile it for. Number 2, choose the format. Number 3, deal with that if you need to, but at most of the time you probably won't. And number 4, choose what bit of Scrivener's content do you want, and then hit the compile button. It's as simple as that. Right, so last time we did multi-markdown to web page. Who can remember why we did that? Why didn't we just pick, because there is one in there, why didn't we just pick web page? I did, and I explained why. Who can remember why? Multi-markdown to web page is much better. Tell me why. But this time, we don't want plain content that we need to format somewhere else. This time, we need either a PDF file or a Word file. I'm going to start with a Word file, because that's the trickiest. Anybody remembered the HTML thing yet? So I'll choose to compile to a Word file. Now you'll notice in there, there's different types of Word file. In fact, all 5 of these items in here, rich text with attachments, Word 97 to 2004 and Office, OpenOffice, are all to do with creating basically a Word file or a compatible with Word file. If you're not using the very latest version of Word, and to be honest, most people are, but maybe you need backwards compatibility, then choose the older doc format, not the docx. If you're working in OpenOffice, you've got a dedicated file format, and if you need compatibility with something else, another word processor like Mello or Nissus Writer or something like that, then choose one of these rich text. But I'm going to go for the docx one. Nobody has remembered. You're very naughty. You're very, very naughty. HTML gives you awful code. It's full of classes and all kinds of rubbish. Whereas this one, multi-markdown to web page, is neat and tidy. It's really clean code. That's why. But today we're doing complicated and we're looking at Word. Right, you could at this point just hit compile, because by default it will select the default format at the top. It takes care of the section layouts. It's already selected the current content, so boom, you're done. What that will give you, we'll just do it, is that. Send it out as Blog30. And screen update, little bit on the slow side. Once it's done, that will be on the desktop and I will show it to you. There we go. So here's my desktop. Open up Blog30. We'll open it up in Word. And I'm going to check that you are indeed all still awake, and I want you to tell me what the problem is with it before I tell you. You can see we've got the title on it. As we scroll through, there's the content, the 5 things, and as we scroll through, have you spotted it yet? What's the problem with that? It's nice and formatted and all kinds of stuff, but there is a problem with that in terms of the content, not the look of it, the content. Because obviously once I get it in here, if we look back at that up there, I can start formatting it. So if I want that as a heading 1, I can do that. If I want to edit the heading 1, so I can go into my style and I can say, yeah, that's not right. You know, I need to edit that style, I need to make it, I'd like it bigger for a start maybe. So bigger than 16. Let's take that up to 20. That's much better. And I can update these styles, so I might not want it that colour either. We could have it that browny colour or purple. So I've updated the heading 1 there. And up here it says the current style is now heading 1 plus some changes. But down here you can see what the original heading 1 was formatted as. If you click that drop down arrow, you can say update that to match the selection. And now that's defined as a heading 1. So when I go into here and I go to the 5 things, I can apply the heading 1 to that as well. Or a heading 2. Whatever you want. Nobody, I think you're all asleep. At least let me know you're awake. All right, I'll tell you what's wrong with it. Let's apply that as a heading 1. Let's go through that document again. Let's actually make it take up half the screen, and behind it we will see Scrivener. Right. Where did it get 5 things I learnt from having an extension built from? Well, it was there. There's the text on the left-hand side. Right. Oh, Paul's still awake. Yay. Good man, Paul. The 5 things is underneath it. So that's where that's coming from. And Deborah's awake. Excellent. We're having the awake call now, Mike. Right. So let's go through it then. Where's the rest? You see here, lesson, document everything. And then the next one is a drain. How far wrong could we go? What? What's that got to do with it? That's actually, if we go back in here, check out all the options. No, it wasn't. Yes, it was. It's at the top. There you go. What's missing from Word is there's no headings. All these headings in here, there's no headings. So half of it's missing. Oh, everyone's awake. Excellent. Well, apart from Charles. Yeah, the headings are missing. So my subheadings, which are actually the questions, not there. Right, why? Well, it's all complicated, that, isn't it? Why is that? It's because that one and that one, obviously looking at them, are folders. The others that we don't see are not. They're documents or scrivenings. So somewhere between me making the selection and the Word document, they got dumped. Now, strictly speaking, they weren't dumped, they were just not included. That's because Scrivener works on the principle that you're writing in big chunks like chapters, but you may want individual scenes within your chapters to be separate documents. And if you imagine compiling a novel, you wouldn't necessarily want the heading for each one of these in chapter 4 to have their own heading. So by default, they're not exported. But compile can be customized in a million different ways. And that's what we're going to do next. We're going to fix the compile. Now, technical reason for why it's not working is actually quite easy to explain. Over here, we have 5 things, I'll put the line above it, I learnt, and over there, it's a heading. And so is that one. It's a heading. But these are all sections, aren't they? And that is what the problem is. The section definition does not include the heading, but the heading definition does. Awesome. But where is that, pray tell? Where would we find that? Right, well, look at these names here. Section, heading, and heading. Where else do we see that? Ooh, look at that. Heading, section. Now, we've not touched this middle bit before because this is where madness lies. This is the complicated bit. But it's actually quite simple. If it's a heading, it's going to look like that. And if it's a section, it's going to look like that. And what's missing? Well, there's a section title, but there's no section title there. Okay. What are you doing? Hit something by accident with me. I think he's trying to wake himself up. Right, so there's something wrong in there is the issue. So how do we fix that? Well, first of all, I can't make any changes to that because it's the default. I need to right-click and duplicate it. So I'll go into duplicate and edit. It's taken me into a completely different mode. This is even more complicated, isn't it? We've gone down a level now. Should probably have covered this at the beginning before everyone's flagging. This is where you define your compile export. I spend hours in here making stuff just so. But it's not as complicated as it looks. For a start, the section layouts. So I'm going to, I'll call that with headings. Right, and save it. And it will appear in here under project formats over there with headings. Now, what we have got in here, in the document, we have headings and sections. And in here, we have section and we have heading and we have section. Now, I can either go into this option at the bottom and get all complicated, but it's actually much easier. I can go into here and I can edit it what they look like by clicking on there. But it's very difficult at this stage to explain what's going on because it's like, whoa, I'm lost. What's happening? Why is everything moving? So you can get to the same place through 9 different options. So let's go back and just say edit the format. That takes us into this safe penned-in environment where we're making changes to it. Obviously, you can see over here just how many categories of things you can change. All of those are individual things that you can change. I've got section layout selected, and that's given us all these things that you can change. Obviously, it gets more complicated as I work down. Just look how many things you can change. It's amazing. But we are only concerned with one thing, which is the section layouts. My text chunks don't have headings. That's my problem. In here, we have our section layouts. We've seen those before. We've seen them in here. These are your section layouts in this box. That's what we're editing. Handily, 2 of them are in bold. New page heading and text section. That's the ones we're actually using. Okay. This one here has a section title and it has the content. But this one here does not. It has no heading. But if I put a tick in that box of title, it appears. Section title. And hit save. When you look at the preview in here now, you can see the word section title. Let's compile it again. So this time we're going in for hit 2. Will it work? Oh my word, will it work? Just having a think about it. Actually, I'm surprised that that post was 7 pages long. But I do have it here. I have Blog30 number 2, take 2, and words thinking about opening it on the wrong screen. There it is. Let's go through and have a look. There's the 5 things. Right, document everything. That was a title. Let's go down to here. Check all the options. A drain. That's a title. The only problem is, it doesn't look like a title, does it? But apart from that, they've come through. Great. So, let's go back in here and think, well, close, no t-shirt. Let's try it again. Back into the definition in here and edit the format. This was the one we put a tick in that box and it worked wonders. Right, in here, again, it drills down and down and down, which is why Scrivener, you could be there for years. You do have in here all of these options. It's amazing. Most of them you can ignore, so do not get freaked out about how complicated it looks. Because you can click in it and edit it just like you would any other way. So for a start, 16's not looking that great for a title, but we could make it 18, or we could use the font panel and make it 20 if we wanted, by clicking in there and actually typing it in. So 20 wasn't an option, but you can do it via the font panel. We can also, while we've got it selected, make it bold and change the colour of it. So let's choose a nice green and then save. It comes through to the preview in here, and when I compile it and we choose number 3, there you go. So it's coming out. Here's the files on the desktop. Number 3 should be appearing anytime now. And we'll open that. Poor Word. There we go. Now, I don't want the intro one for a start, but I can always delete that. There is a better way to do that. But here we go. These are the 5 things. This is the first one. There's the second one. There's the third. And as we go through, there are all the others. Now, that actually, it might seem quite simple, that. You just put a heading in it. That should teach you so much about compile. You'll notice that the text in here looks very similar to the text in there. That's because it's Avenir. It's exactly the same text. But the power of compile is that if you want to write with unicorn 10-point shining pink font and then compile to 16-point Times New Roman, you can. All you need to do, go back into compile and go back into your edit format. And remember, you have this one with the heading and the content and this one with the heading and the content. All you would need to do, and one way to do it is actually make the changes. Just thinking you could marry the styles up as well, but let's stay in here. Right, let's Command and A to select the lot and say, let's say can we get down there? No, we can get to there. Right, let's put in there that we don't want that. Oh, what shall we have? How about adventure? No, that's not good, is it? No. Stick to sensible, woman. A Myriad Pro. That's nice. Myriad Pro. And I'll just change the colour so you can see we have actually made a change to it. And then up here, there's the top title at the top. We'll make that, what should we make that? How about bright red? Oh, it's blue at the minute. Come on. There's the red. Right, so that's that colour. And what else can we do in here? We can put something before it and after it, which might seem odd. But if we put that in and then a space, and over here we put that and a space and then that, and you can change that to whatever you want, and etc. That will come out wrapped around the title. So from in there, again, we can select that and make them red. So you don't have to put those characters in inside Scrivener. You can put them in at the point that you compile the thing. So you can make any number of changes in here. You can even add other content. So if I wanted the synopsis adding or the notes, I could do that. Now you might wonder when on earth you would want that. We'll look at that in a future one. But at the moment, I've overridden the title, but what I haven't done is overridden the text. If you see this, when I select it, I can't get in. I'm clicking, but nothing's happening. To do that, you need to override the text and notes format. Select it and then tell it what you want it to look like. So if we said Times New Roman, oh, that's not good, is it? I like it in italic, but not on its own. Not on its own. But that's what books tend to look like, so we'll do that. And in the text section here, we'll do exactly the same. Select it, override it, make it Times New Roman, and take it up to 18 points and save. And now when we compile it, and this is number 4, all of the changes that we've just put in there will ripple through. You will end up with a document that looks completely different than how it looks in Scrivener. Because how people read, they tend to publish books in a serif font, but you tend to work on a computer in a sans serif font. So 4's come out. Let's have a look at it. And we now have a completely different thing. These have come through in red. It's also got the extra little characters that I put in there. That I changed to blue from green. And there's all the Times New Roman, which I don't like the look of. But there you go. So compile, that's a very simple, I mean, you might think, whoa, that's doing a lot. It is doing a lot. But in terms of what compile can actually do, that's actually quite basic, believe it or not. Now, that's what it does in Word. You will be pleased to know, I'm going to show you one more compile, and then we are done for today. But we'll be back with compile soon. What if you chose a PDF because you want to make a PDF, a direct PDF? Well, you'll see that if I choose things up here, I said what appeared over here changed. But as I'm going through this, you can see that that's still there. It's showing you relevant things. If I go down there, it is actually still there, believe it or not. But all of these have changed. So what you see over here very much depends on what's up here. But I'd like to go straight to a PDF because maybe on this computer I don't have Word. But I can still use the project format I created for my doc file, and look, it looks identical. The only difference this time, when I compile, I'll do it as 5, but this time, instead of it being a Word file, it will actually take it straight out to be a PDF. So I'm bringing on my desktop, and there it is. Blog5 is a PDF file. It's much bigger, but it's a PDF file. So let's open that up. And basically, it's the Word file, isn't it? It's the Word file in format, but it's a PDF. You'll also see over here, it's actually built for you links, clickable links. So it's built you an outline for the file. The one thing that this version of Scrivener does that the old one didn't, the old one worked perfectly, is, for instance, I don't want that one, so I can delete that one. And the 5 things and these, well, these are the 5 things. It's not nested. But you can just drag and drop, and the 5 things were part of that, and that was part of that, but that needs to be moved down. So you can completely rejig that if you need to. like that. And then open these up. Now, that is not part of Scrivener, that's part of PDF Expert. One day I will work out how to make this work like the old version did. Hopefully it will be in my lifetime. So that's another look at Compile for how I intend to repurpose the content that I've created in Scrivener for Blog30 at the end of Blog30 to create other formats from it. I'm even working on a way to get it into Keynote, so I'm having lots of fun with that. So that was this week's look at Blog30. Okay, I would unbox, but it's getting late, isn't it? And I can't actually find the thing. But the good news is I have better things to unbox next week, or I will do when I've bought them. Next week, we're back to a Friday. Who prefers Friday? Let me know in the chat. Now, big news about Friday. When I say I'll be here on Friday, I will be, but in the afternoon. I've got a dental appointment. Oh, no. No, it's not actually the dentist this time. It's the hygienist, but she's... What's the word I'm looking for, Mike?
Not as nice as the last one.
Mean. Mean's the word I'm looking for. I'm very sensitive with my hygienist, so unfortunately I've got to go see her. I usually manage to fend her off. She usually gives me a gold star. Obviously, I shall be working 10 times harder this week.
I guess I could do better.
Let me get you back up, or no one's going to hear you, dear. Prefer Friday because it's Saturday. That's a good enough reason. Saturday person. Oh, so is that an I do to Saturday? Have we got 2 for Saturday and 1 for Friday? Well, we swap them around. So hopefully everybody gets a go. I'm coming out of that so I can go over here to turn mic on again in the audio sense of the word. We don't want anything else, do we? Right, you're there, Mike. I might go echoey now. I don't know.
I've now forgotten what I was saying.
Oh, good grief. Your hygienist,
my
mean.
hygienist, yes, could do better.
She's mean. She's mean, and she charges you 60 quid a year more than mine does.
That's for the meanness.
Thank you, Kim. No, mine was warned. Mine was warned when I joined the practice. They've got a whole range of hygienists, but they're all freelance. They're all independent. In fact, to be honest, the dentists are, apart from the guy that owns it. So they've got this lady at the practice who is like the patient coordinator. She's awesome. I wondered what the heck we were paying for a patient coordinator for, and then I met her and realised. She orchestrates, she works with you as a person and sees which dentist you would be best with. So I said with the hygienist, I do not want to hear they're somewhat under clean. Because it didn't matter if I cleaned them with a wire brush with the last hygienist, they were always somewhat under clean. So I said, I do not want to hear that. I want positive reinforcement, not nagging. So I got this lovely, lovely hygienist who instantly emigrated to Australia. I don't think it was anything personal. She was lovely. Oh, she was. So I've got this new one, and she's very formal. She keeps calling me Mrs. Giles for a start. 1, I'm not married, and 2, Mrs. Giles was my mother, so that freaks me out. I've told her once I'm Elaine, but we're getting there. Oh, dear. So drive time on a Friday, but you'll be able to listen. Oh, that's not a bad idea, is it? Yeah, not visual, but why Semper Fi? Semper Fi is Latin for faithful, and I just love it. I know it's the motto of the US Marines, isn't it? Always. Oh, what's the actual definition, Mike?
Always faithful.
Always faithful, I believe. I just believe in integrity, and I love it. I just love that sentiment. So I decided I would put it across it. It originally started life as blue, and I only used it as my Twitter avatar. I don't tend to put pictures of myself online, as you know. There's one on my blog. In fact, there's one on my blog and one of my leg. That's a long story. I'd started the bike ride and injured myself within 2 days. So there was blood all over the back of my leg, and I took this picture of the back of my leg and said, look, I'm suffering here. So I used this little avatar, and it was blue. My blog was blue, so it all fitted. So it then came to Christmas 2008, because that was the year I started on Twitter, and I thought, I want this more Christmassy. And the logo originally just said Semper Fi. But I put a little star on it and some glitter, And I changed the background to red, and everyone was like, oh, whoa, I'm loving that. And I said, oh, it's for Christmas. And after Christmas, I thought, I'm not changing it back. I'm just sticking with it. And it just became my logo ever since. Everybody says, oh, you're the red one. You're the red one. So it really does stand out, and I love it. And I just like the sentiment as well. Whether you have good news to impart or bad news, you should always be truthful. So Semper Fi means something to me. And my mum absolutely adored NCIS, the programme. And when it came on there and it said, like, Semper Fi, and they talk to each other and go, Semper Fi. She loved that. She said, oh, look, your logo. So that's why it's Semper Fi. Oh, you were in the Navy. Wow. Love that. There's so many programmes that you see where the US Navy are included. There was one I saw the other day. It was amazing. It was a programme that came up. Now, we have a TV, but it's not been turned on since, the last 3 years. But we never had a TV. That's why it's not turned on. Our friend said, you've got to get a TV. So, all right, then. And we got a TV, and it's in the front room, and it's full of dust. But I do have a service called Now TV, which is a little bit like Sky. Now, I know American TV is all very different. You've got your cable services. But I guess Now TV, it's more like Netflix, basically. We pay £5 a month, which I'm happy to pay, but I won't pay any more than that. Some people we know are paying 180 quid for the TV every month. You must want to lock it up. It's not that good. So I'll pay £5. And I was scouting around the other night. I was working late, but doing kind of mindless stuff. And I thought, oh, is there anything on here? Because I'm waiting for Grey's Anatomy and it's not on yet. It's probably on in the States, but it's not on here. And I found this programme, and it was the aftermath of the Boston Marathon bomb. And I thought, this could be depressing or it could be incredibly wonderful. And I thought, I'll give it a go. It was incredibly wonderful. It's been on in the States a couple of years ago, I believe. But the bit that I found amazing, there was a couple, married couple. I can't remember her name, sadly, but his name was Patrick. And he'd lost a leg and she'd lost a leg. He'd lost a foot, I think, and she'd lost a leg. But he was healing really well and she wasn't. And so it went on. And after 3 years, she still wasn't right, and she ended up losing the second leg. But just before she lost the second leg, she tried to get help to find out what was wrong with this. And obviously it was a blast injury. And she was like, there's no civilian doctors that are giving me anything useful here because they have never dealt with blast injuries. So she got in touch somehow with the medical team at Walter Reed. And I was busy explaining to Mike that Walter Reed may have been a person, but now it's a hospital. And they will only deal with you if you've exhausted all the civilian options, which she had. So she managed to get down there and they did an assessment and stuff, and they started working on her. And obviously with her husband being in the same boat in terms of he'd lost a leg, he went down there too. The two of them have lived there for over 2 years while she's having treatment. But what was amazing about it was they're on a ward and she's being fitted with various prosthetics. And she's trying to walk and she's all over the place and the guy's all over the place. But this ward was like a communal ward and there was a load of people in there. And they were all injured servicemen. They were amazing. They'd lost, one poor guy had lost both legs and an arm. And all of a sudden, somebody would come in and say, right, exercise. And every single one of them would be doing push-ups. And I'm like, really? How? And this guy that only had one arm was there doing push-ups. He was amazing. So the Marines, I love them. I think they have a special place in my heart because my mum always used to watch the programmes and I just think they're an amazing bunch of people. What an amazing, amazing hospital. Tonight is actually our remembrance service at... what's it called, Mike? Where's the remembrance service in London?
Albert Hall.
Oh, the Royal Albert Hall. It's escaped me. The Royal Albert Hall. And we used to have, they do special little video clips. And they used to go to the hospitals. There was a hospital where it was the rehabilitation centre for the UK. And they've closed it. Like, it's not like these people don't need help, is it? But they've closed it and they've hived off the services elsewhere. So it's good to see somewhere like Walter Reed where it was just so full of positivity. It was amazing. So that's why Semper Fi. It means so much on so many different levels. I love it. So we're 50-50 Friday, Saturday then. Well, good news is you can always watch on catch up. So if I go through the rest of these, then you get the link for catch up. So if you could give us a like, we would love that. There's 2 newsletters, as most of you know. I've seen some of you sign up. The VIP one tends to get the stuff off my blog, and basically not the comical stuff from MacBites is what that's all about. The MacBites one gets everything. So there's those 2 to have a look at. Now, obviously you're watching live, but you can also watch on catch up. And you can get to that with youtube.com/ElaineGiles. But another way to be reminded is to subscribe. If you subscribe, there is a notification button. It's got a little bell on it, and that will let you know when we go live. So that might be useful as well. And there you can get in touch with us. Thank you so much for the people who got in touch. We are going through those mails. Now, who was first? Was it Neil? Oh, I can't remember now. So somebody sent a mail and they were first. Find it, Mike. Find it.
Kim was first. Kim was first.
No, she wasn't. Kim was second. I'm sure Kim was second.
What, logging in?
No. Oh, keep up with the plot. I think I've lost him. No, it's the new email address. The crew at.
Oh, no,
and I replied.
That was Kim.
No, it wasn't. Oh, for crying out loud. Right, Mike's rather tired and emotional by the look of it. I'll go and find it, but thank you very much. We're working through them. And we got a lovely, lovely picture of the dog, didn't we? Taking over the spare room. Pretty much like our girl. Took over the entire bed. We're going to need another bed, Mike, because she definitely needs one of her own. We're allowed a couple of inches either side, if she's in a good mood. But if I've dressed her up for Halloween, then she's not in a good mood. But never mind. So yes, the new email address, the crew at MacBites, it's working. Some of you have been in touch, so you know it's working, which is excellent. Red poppies, yes, I have. I've got, we're actually going out tomorrow. Mike's laying a wreath at the local war memorial on behalf of the Catenian group that we're in. So he's in charge of that tomorrow morning. So we get a lie in, don't we? We get a little bit of a lie in. Not much, probably about half an hour. We get a little bit of a lie in because we're going straight up to there. It's the big thing tonight, the service at the Royal Albert Hall. The only thing with going out and laying your own wreath, which is lovely, is that I miss the cenotaph bit. But luckily we can watch that on catch up later. I believe all the royal family are heading out there. Prince Charles usually manages to escape, going off to some weird country. I don't know. I don't know who's going to be there tomorrow. And I've got my red poppy. Lola's got her poppy. Lola's got the Royal British Legion who make the poppies. The injured servicemen make the poppies, and they make millions each year. They've started doing them in conjunction with Pets at Home. And what they are is like a sponge poppy. You could have it plain or with glitter. Well, obviously, Lola needed the glittery one. And on the back of it, there's a piece of elastic. And it actually, you can feed the collar through it. So when you put the collar on, there's this poppy on it. So we got one for Lola and one for Ollie. And we sent Ollie home with his. And Lola's had hers on every day since. So yes, we got that for the poppy. I think you've got a paper poppy, haven't you? But I've got a blingy poppy that I wear. I forever lose those. And there's a tiny one as well, which I can probably show them, can't I? That was the anniversary that year. Let's come out of there so I can get to here to show you the webcam. Oh, that's a bit bright, isn't it? Let's put that down a bit. And I can show you the little tiny one. Good night, Deborah. Right, let's get that across there. There we go. Hopefully that's in focus. That was the poppy that celebrated the centenary in 2017. So that's the one that Mike's got. I'm frantically looking for my blingy poppy, Mike. Where on earth did my blingy poppy go? Did I have it in there? Oh, there it is. There's my blingy poppy. So that's the one that I wear, which is nice and shiny if you can see it. Lots of bling on it. But I've also got a whole range of these as well. So these are very popular, these small ones, because the other ones are paper and they kind of fall off. But yes, that's what we'll be doing tomorrow. So we're heading straight off to bed. No time for anything to eat, probably. What's everybody else having? What are you having, Graham? What are you having? Next week, oh, I have seen cakes. I have seen cakes. Is that the next one? Let me key that up for next week and then we're good to go. Next week I have seen cakes and I've got pictures of cakes. So we will be having a culinary delight next week. Wonder where Peter is. Must be because it's a Saturday. But hopefully he will have enjoyed the compile section before we get on to any more compiling next time. Well, we may have... Oh, thank you very much, Kim. Thank you. So we may have something to eat. It depends if I can get any grapes out of Mike. But failing that, we'll be back next Friday the 15th, with news about tomorrow and everything else. We've arranged to go for lunch after the presentation, the wreath laying, with 20 friends. A minimum of 20, because the breakfast was for 16 that turned into 20 odd. So probably around the 24 mark, I'd imagine, tomorrow. So it'll be a late afternoon back, but never mind. Mango and hot cross bun, loving it. Oh, diet's not good, but it'll be worth it in the end. Graham, I still haven't tried a mango, but I'm going to need to try mango. I will do that at some point. I'll get Mike to get some. There you go. But hold the thought on food till next week, till we show you the new cakes. New cakes at Bramley Farm. Needs to be done. Needs to be done. Glad you enjoyed it. Hope to see you all next time. If you got any questions in the week, let me know. Or if you just want to say hello, just let us know. We love that. But for now, it's good night from me.
It's good night from me.
And we'll both see you next time. Night, guys.